following is a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.
12 drivers, 10 races, 1 champion. For 7 weeks, he was a man unto himself, blowing away a talented field, making a legendary moment seem like a foregone conclusion. Then it happened. Now, the smooth ride into history has become a showdown in the desert. In an instant, the landscape changed for 2 veterans of the chase. The improbable is now very possible. And his sure thing is anything but. This chase is far from over, so watch your back, because the championship is survival of the fastest.
This championship, the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, comes today to the Valley of the Sun and the Phoenix International Raceway. The backdrop of the mountains and the desert scenery forming a beautiful setting for an afternoon of competition. It takes a tough critter to survive the desert landscape surrounding this track, and it takes a tough critter to master this flat mile. With high speeds and tight traffic, it's key to stay ahead of the pack of predators who sniff opportunity and are ready to strike. After last week's twist of plot, what'll today's story be as the chase for the Sprint Cup comes to Phoenix?
T-minus 10, 9, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ignition.
ESPN welcomes you to NASCAR Countdown for the second to last race in the chase for the Sprint Cup from the beautiful Phoenix International Raceway in Avondale, Arizona. The possibilities of this day are great. We look for great hard-fought racing on this tight but fast mile. The pit crews and their work will be so critical. And where the championship's concerned, the picture's a good measure less certain after the shocking turn of events for Jimmie Johnson last Sunday at Texas.
Just be cautious here at the start. There's some people up front that typically aren't up there. I mean, it is on back here. Inside, inside. Straight to the garage, Jimmy. Straight to the garage. Take our time, get this thing fixed up. All right, guys, we're going to need to get right front suspension, right rear suspension.
That's going to take a lot of work. They're going to have to replace a lot of parts.
It looks like Jimmie Johnson is now coming back out onto the pit lane.
The whole field thinks that this championship is back open again, and you know what? It is.
It's one of those things. I mean, not much we can do about it. We're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The guys did a great job to get this car back out on track to pick up a couple more spots. We didn't want this by any means, but we're still in a great position, and we'll go to Phoenix and race.
Looking at Jimmie Johnson's championship lead and how it built over the course of the chase, it did seem he had a firm grip on the title. But as Texas showed, when you race cars in tight traffic at high speeds, anything can happen. And what was a huge lead for Johnson is now less than half of what it was. Jimmie starts third today at a track where he's won 3 of the last 4. He's with Dave Burns now.
And we'll check in with a 3-time champ and ask him, how did the team, and Jimmy, how did you personally get over last week?
I don't know if we have. I mean, in a lot of ways we have. You know, being on the racetrack Friday helped, and yesterday and all that kind of thing. But until the championship is decided, I think we'll have this question mark in our minds. You know, did we need the points or not? So with that in mind, you know, we've got a great race car, and we have put aside, you know, the bulk of it and focused really hard on qualifying. Got a great spot there, and then yesterday in practice, the car was awesome. So we're excited, and I know that all the Lowe's employees are, and especially everybody at store 2582. And we'll just go after it and see what happens.
A lot of the talk has been about how the lead decreased, but it's still pretty big. Given that, and you said your car is pretty good, what necessary risks can you afford to take today?
You know, I've thought long and hard about last week and what I can do differently or should have done differently, and there really isn't. I think that maybe a cautious lap in qualifying on Friday in Texas led me to start in 12th and had me maybe in that problem. I was being a little cautious at the start of the race, riding on the bottom, and then decided I needed to get to the middle because I thought guys were going to spin out. And sure enough, they did. Unfortunately, it was when I was going by. So in a lot of ways, maybe caution and trying to be smart led to the problems. And with that in mind, I'm just going to go out and drive my butt off and try to win the race and get maximum points. And certainly not do anything stupid, but if I stay on the aggressive side and keep offense in mind, I think we're going to be in a much better position.
Sounds like they've got it figured out, at least from the driver's standpoint, Alan, of how to go about today's race.
Very interesting comments from the champ, David. Thank you. Here is the bottom line on the championship picture for today. Jimmie Johnson could leave here having clinched the title. He could leave here as low as third in points or anything in between. We won't know for sure until these 312 laps play out. What a pretty sight this racetrack is. The desert mountains, the bright southwestern theme colors of this racetrack. And now we're going to spoil it by putting 4 critters on camera from inside the ESPN pit studio. Alan Bestwick with the all-time leading lap leader at Phoenix in Cup racing. Rusty Wallace, Brad Daugherty, Ray Evernham. I was just waiting for Brad to reach across and give me a shot there with those long arms of his. Rusty's been walking around all week here saying, welcome to the wild, wild west.
No, it is a wild, wild west out here. This is going to be a wild race today. There is just no doubt about that. The drivers love this place. It's a great place to race. It's a great racetrack. But I got to tell you, every single time I come to this particular track, I think of my championship year. I went in this race with a big point lead. I'm sitting there running great in the race, a big lead. I pass a lap car. We tangle. I crash. I lose a ton of points. And Ray, you know as well as I do, because it happened to you and Jeff Gordon, anything can happen here today.
Absolutely agree with you. Wild, wild west, and it will come down to a shootout. You've got a shootout today between Mark Martin and Jimmie Johnson. We did come here in 1997 with a 125-point lead, had an issue, had the pit, got behind, lost a lot, went to Atlanta the following weekend, lost more points, came down to a 14-point difference to win the championship. That's why that 15 points that Jimmie Johnson made up last week is going to be so important.
Last week at Texas, I sat back and I was almost, my breath was taken away. When I saw that 48 car spinning off the corner, it was almost surreal to see them have that type of problem. I've watched this race team for the past 3 years totally dominate this time of year. So that little chink in their armor shows that there is some vulnerability there. But that being said, they do start up front today, and when they're up front, they're as tough or as strong as an acre of plowed garlic, baby. They are hard to deal with.
Strong as okay. This is new
More
one on
big
me.
words to come later on, maybe?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Having a big lead in points and losing a good chunk. You just told us how you'd been through it before. What's this week been like for Jimmie and his team?
Oh, he's probably been agonizing all week long. He heard an interview. He's thought about it many, many times. What could he have done different? But right now, you know what? He can't do anything different. It's this week at Phoenix. He's dominated this race in the past. He's got to go out and drive hard. He's got to drive his brains out, put that behind him. One big thing they did learn last week, how to fix a tore-up race car. They did a good job doing that.
Yeah, they did an excellent job doing that. And the thing last week, I talked to Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Gordon right before qualifying, and Jimmie was really, really kind of pensive. He said to me, he says, this thing's not over. You guys keep talking about it over. He was kidding me because I've christened him the 4-time heavyweight champ. He said, but Brad, he said, anything can happen, and it did. And so it was in his mind. So this week he has struggled with that, trying to see what he could have done differently or better. It's just racing, man. That's what happens. But it becomes a pressure cooker.
And as a crew chief, I can tell you, Chad Knell's probably got his guys together and said, look, we got to control the part we can control and can't worry about the rest. But he's the one that's worrying about the rest because he knows he's got a good race team. He knows he's got a good car. And what happened last week was totally out of his control, and that's what he's worried about this week.
Ray, they went into the race this last weekend not worried about Texas. They were worried about Talladega. They got out of Talladega clean and ended up crashing to Texas. Goes back to this particular week, buddy. You can have another problem. Just because it crashed last week, he can do it again here.
You mentioned how important the 15 points were when they fixed the car and got it back out on the track an hour and 8 minutes later. Well, let's show you how important 15 points can be when it comes to deciding some of these championships. Remember that one?
Oh, take a look at that. I mean, he's racing Dale Earnhardt, and what a deal. I mean, Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt, 12 points, big deal there.
That's you.
That's me. Wow. Yeah, you got me confused. I'm thinking about Jimmie Johnson. You guys tricked me on that one. Hey, 11 points. Wow.
Then we saw Richard Petty and Darrell Waltrip in 79. The first aired event with the Daytona 500 being live on TV, and he wins by 11 points. Just incredible.
In 1992, Alan Kwiatkowski and Bill Elliott down to the line. Jeff Gordon and I's first race, we were in the middle of that. That points battle swapped all day long, came down to 1 points position and who led the most laps.
And the first time in the chase format, the championship was decided by 8 points. And Jimmie lost it by 8, 15 points. can make a big difference.
Didn't know he ever lost one of these things.
Yeah, he has. We have the evidence.
You guys sucking me right into that one.
The effort that they made to fix that car and get it back out on the racetrack, it was no simple thing.
No, they changed a lot of parts and pieces, and it was an hour and 8 minutes, and they changed right front suspension. They changed rear suspension. You know, if you look at the graph of what they did, you know, upper and lower control arms. Can you imagine taking your car to the shop to do that? A spindle, a hub, the brakes weren't working. They changed the springs and shock absorber, just getting that stuff back in line. Steering, rear end housing, trail arms. You look at the work that was done there in less time than your dealer could service your car. Pretty amazing day.
They had a few more guys working on the car at one time, too.
Can't get an oil change in an hour.
Yeah.
So now we come to Phoenix, where tight traffic and hard racing make crash damage a possibility again. So the teams need to be ready for another disaster drill. For more on that, let's head over next door to the Craftsman Tech Garage and Tim Brewer. Tim, what do you got?
Thanks, Alan. The key to surviving is make sure that all your people have their assignments. You're going to have people working on the rear suspension. They know what they're doing. The same people working on the front suspension, they're designated to this area. Another aspect, they're cutting the sheet metal off. But there again, some of the components had to be welded back on. But the key element here is making sure when you go back on the racetrack, you meet minimum speed requirements, because everybody has one opportunity to do their job, do it right, prepare the car, put it on the racetrack. If it doesn't meet that minimum speed requirement, they're going to black flag you, and you're out of business for the rest of the day. Alan?
And can't pick up those 15 points, which, as we just saw, can be so valuable. Tim, thank you. Chad Knaus led that repair effort, just as he's led the 48 team to 3 consecutive championships. He's with Jamie Little.
Well, Jimmy Johnson's performance last week has certainly been the story all week long. And Chad, after enduring the wreck, rebuilding the car, getting back out to finish the race, what kind of message did you deliver to your team and to your driver this week?
Well, I don't think there was a real message, you know, to be put out there. I think that if you look every week, our team works as hard every event that we go to. If that had been Dover, Delaware in the spring, we would have probably done the same thing. You know, we really try hard to go out and complete every lap and fix the cars if they're able to be fixed and put them back out on the racetrack. And, you know, it's unfortunate that happened to us last week, and we did lose some valuable points. But, you know, if we were coming into Homestead, or Phoenix rather, with a 70-point deficit, I'd be a little bit more concerned than a 70-point advantage, you know.
And you mentioned points. You guys lost 111 in your lead. Coming into this race, though, how will that affect the way you guys approach today's race versus if you had that big points lead?
I think actually it's probably helped us a little bit. We're typically a little bit better when we're the aggressor, and we go out there and we try to lead laps and win races and things like that, and that's what we need to do, because you know the 5 car is going to run exceptionally well here. But this is one of Mark's best racetracks. Even last year when he was with DEI, he ran very, very well here. So I think that, you know, we need to go out there and we need to try to win this race and lead the most laps, and that's kind of what we're going to do.
All right, Chad Knaus looking to do what no other crew chief has ever done in NASCAR, win 4 straight championships. Alan?
Okay, Jamie, thanks. So we've heard from both Jimmy and Chad that it's go all out today in their continued pursuit of that trophy for a 4th consecutive year. Up next, the two who have the possibility of overtaking Jimmy for the title and must make up some ground today. Jeff Gordon, starting 14th here, 112 points from the lead. This is a must day for Jeff's title hopes. We'll explain why. And from 23-year-old upstart to 50-year-old championship contender, we'll look at Mark Martin back and ahead to today when NASCAR Countdown returns to Phoenix. ESPN's Monday Night Football continues in the AFC North this week. Ray Lewis leads the Baltimore Ravens against Josh Cribbs and the Cleveland Browns. It's Ravens-Browns on ESPN's Monday Night Football, 8:30 Eastern. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 7 Eastern. If Mark Martin were to overtake Jimmy Johnson and win the championship, it would be quite the story. Passion, persistence, and some painful experiences have all combined to make Mark the man we know today.
I have burned my candle on both ends as bright as I could burn it since I was 15 years old.
You're considered as one of the young lions that's coming along in this sport. Do you see yourself that way?
Well, like I say, Ned, we're learning on the super speedways. We're a new team, and we're just going to try to get going.
Well, he will be a driver to be heard from, Ken, before 1982 is over.
Mark Martin first came to NASCAR's top level in 1982 as a 23-year-old out of Arkansas with much promise. Things didn't go as planned, though.
Out of the race, it appears, is Mark Martin.
And Martin was gone, back to the Midwest to regroup and rebuild.
I had a chip on my shoulder, and I said I wasn't going to come back to NASCAR. I stood outside the fence in 1984 in Daytona. I didn't have a garage pass, and I looked in and I watched those drivers walk from those cars to those trailers, and I said, I can beat those guys. I had just come out of ASA winning that championship in '86 and was trying to get a foothold in NASCAR.
Mark Martin will win his first Winston Cup event.
He did a super job. He's been ready to win a lot of these races. We just didn't have it right for him. And hats off to Mark. Driving up here into victory lane, you know, I just felt like my whole life was fulfilled. I've wanted it so bad for so long, and I'm just really lucky to have the opportunity.
Mark Martin striving. He's been the strong car. Mark Martin has won his second race.
Checkered flag coming down for Mark Martin.
Super job, Marcus. You guys are just awesome. Put me in the best race cars I've ever driven.
The reason I race is to win. I don't race for money. I don't race for fame. I don't race for anything else.
Mark Martin comes home first and wins the second California 500.
Whenever I climb into a car, I remember why I do this, and it's because I'm better than a lot of people at it.
Mark Martin wins the Nextel All-Star Challenge.
I've managed to have a great career, far beyond my dream as a kid.
And now the newest member of this driving quartet from Hendrick Motorsports, returning to full-time Sprint Cup competition in 2009, Mark Martin.
There's no place I'd rather be than behind the wheel of that 5-car. These guys really believe in me.
Do what we do here all night long, guys.
They may call him the old man, but he hasn't forgotten how to win a race.
Mark Martin, you are unbelievable, buddy. You are the man. I love driving your car. Thank you.
I have an incredible commitment to being competitive, and racing is my life.
Mark Martin looking to make it back-to-back Phoenix wins here today. He gets asked repeatedly about finishing second in the championship 4 times. And Mark points out how proud he is to have competed with the sure Hall of Famers who edged him out.
Oh, absolutely. Take a look at this. 26 points behind one of the sport's greatest, Dale Earnhardt. He got that close.
Dale Earnhardt was on just a tremendous run at the time. And as you see in '94, again, Dale Earnhardt wins a championship. And Mark Martin is right there nipping at his heels. Just incredible.
It was an honor to race Mark in '98. He kept us honest all year for that championship. He battled through personal tragedy at that time with the loss of his father, Julian, and never complained.
And 2002, just getting nipped by Tony Stewart. Again, another sure Hall of Famer. Mark Martin is chasing to the title. Mark, the most recent winner at Phoenix, he starts 10th today. He's with Vince Welch.
Well, Alan, Mark was getting ribbed a little bit by some of those shots in that piece. How different you looked back then. How does some of those highs and lows that we just saw in that feature maybe give you a little deeper appreciation for where you are with the competitive situation you have today and a shot at the championship?
I think it means everything. You know, who you are today is a total sum of all your experiences. You know, and you know, I've had a blast. I've been really fortunate. I've had a chance to work with a lot of really great people and had a lot of fun and got a lot of great memories.
You took a big chunk out of Jimmy Johnson's lead last week. Do you feel the pressure that you got to take another chunk out of it today?
What pressure? Nah, you know, it's just pretty incredible to even have a chance. You know, we're still a pretty good piece back, but you know, to have a shot at it is an incredible accomplishment by everyone at Hendrick Motorsports, and especially the 5 team and Alan and everybody that works on our car. And we've had a lot of fun doing it too.
I spoke with Alan earlier today about your pit stall selection. You're at the very first stall coming off turn 4. He says there's some challenges to that. From a driver's seat perspective, what challenge do you have coming in and having to whoa it up quickly to get to that first box?
I like that box. We use that box a lot the last couple of years before. Alan doesn't, you know, doesn't pick that as much, but I like the box. The only challenge is leaving while cars are still coming in. If you're running at the front of the pack, it can get a little tough leaving the pits, but if you're toward the middle of the pack, it's actually a great advantage to get in and get your stuff done without having to wait in line to turn into your stall.
You seem so relaxed. Mark Martin ready to go, looking to win again at Phoenix.
And lining up in the 10th position, Vince, thank you very much. Rusty, the timeline and path of your career and Mark's are so close together. What you just saw a few minutes ago, all those memories, what was your reaction?
It's just he's a 100% racer. I mean, this guy's one of the best out there. I've had an opportunity to sit down his Busch yesterday for about 45 minutes, just reminisce about the old days and different things. And he told me, he said, you know what, Rusty, you're talking about the championship. He said, but I got to tell you, man, he said, a couple years ago, I was just running a partial schedule. Just a partial schedule. So if I lose this thing, hey, no big deal. But you know what? To me, he was almost setting himself up for if he misses it again, he'll be okay with it. He's finished 4 times, second place. This could be the 5th. Tell you what, though, when it was all said and done, he grabbed me by the shoulder and said, yeah, tell you one thing I don't want to miss, though. That's what's that. He says, I've never won the Daytona 500. I want to win that race.
Wow.
Well, you know, Mark Martin, to me, he's one of my favorite people, and there's a couple of reasons why. When you look at Mark Martin, and if you know his total story, he's right. He said he's burned the candle at both ends. So he's been from the lowest of lows and the highest of highs. But what's interesting about Mark Martin, when you read articles about him not winning championships and people throw in and weigh in, well, he's not this and he's not that. Let me tell you something. To be a champion, it's not about holding a trophy. It's about how you prepare and how you compete. And when you mark those standards to Mark Martin, he is a champion. He's one of the greatest race car drivers of all time. We need to really relish this opportunity to watch him compete at 50 years of age at the highest stage and appreciate Mark Martin for the champion that he is.
And I'll tell you, Brad, even though Mark is small in stature, a lot of people in the garage area, including me, look up to him for what he's accomplished and the way he's conducted himself as a leader. But let's take it away from auto racing right now. If we took it to football and let's say Dan Marino or one of the greatest quarterbacks who's never won the Super Bowl decides to come out of retirement at 50 years old, and not only does he come out of retirement, he's having the best year that he ever had, and he's about to win the Super Bowl. This is a huge, huge story what Mark is accomplishing.
Yeah, absolutely is. In the what-if category for this particular championship, Talladega. Mark is in the hunt for a top 10 finish, coming to the white flag. Jimmy Johnson, just a couple of cars in front of him in line, gets by the wreck. Mark,
man, there he goes.
Gets turned over.
Oh, my goodness.
For the first time he ever turned over.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
End result on this is Mark finishes 28th, and he lost 66 points to Jimmy Johnson in that race. Difference between what Jimmy earned and what Mark earned, 66 points. He's 73 behind him starting today.
Oh, man.
What ifs?
And he said he felt lucky that day. Remember we were talking about it? He kept saying, I feel lucky today at Talladega. I feel lucky.
That's another thing he said in the bus, too. He looked at me and he said, you know what? If I wouldn't have wrecked at Talladega, I'd only been 13 points behind him.
Yeah.
So he did have it on his mind.
Make a statement. You guys agree or disagree, and why? To win this championship, Mark must gain at least some points on Jimmy Johnson today.
Yes, he must gain points today because obviously we're running out of time. But the most important thing is there's a little bit of a psychological advantage if he gains those points. It gives him a realistic shot, but it also gets in the mind of Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus. This is 2 weeks in a row that we have lost ground to a guy who is nipping on our heels and digging at us. He must gain points today.
Well, we see anything can happen, so I don't know if he must gain some points. He can't lose a lot because anything can happen going to Homestead. But the key is I think he can gain them by racing on the racetrack. Mark has the ability and the car to lead the most laps and win the race today. So even if Jimmy has a good day, 5th, 6th, 7th, Mark can gain a good bit on him.
He has to gain points on Jimmy Johnson, no doubt about that. He did tell me, though, he said, going into Homestead, I know Jimmy Johnson's good down there, but I can beat him there. He's fast on the mile halves. I am too. Heads up, I can get him. I know I can.
Well, you love it.
He gained some points today. It's a whole different psychological game going to the final race in Miami next week. The top 3 in points all drive for the same team. And the top 3 together have won the last 5 straight Phoenix races. Jimmy Johnson has won 3 of the last 4. Mark's win here in April, his 2nd at this racetrack. And before that streak started, Jeff Gordon won the last race here. Gordon looking to gain some ground. The 4-time champ lines up 14th for this one, Shannon Spake.
Well, currently Jeff Gordon is 112 points out of first, chasing Jimmy Johnson in the championship. What was your initial reaction, Jeff, when you realized that the 48 had problems last week at Texas?
Yeah, I didn't even realize that they were in that first wreck. You know, usually they tell me what's going on, you know, who wrecked or what exactly happened to give me an update. and they didn't say anything. So I kind of got a little leery of something was up. And then a little bit later, you know, I realized it. You know, it didn't change our approach, and I was glad that nobody said anything to me because I wanted to just run our race and focus on our car and our setup and our pit stop. So, you know, and it didn't affect us. I mean, we made some bad calls and adjustments. It wasn't our best day, but it didn't have anything to do with what happened with the 48. So unfortunately, we didn't capitalize on it like we could have. So now we just come to this weekend, go with the same approach, go out there and just give it everything we've got and see what happens with the DuPont Chevrolet.
You have 21 Cup starts here at Phoenix International Raceway, and yet just this week you said every time you come here you try to learn from mistakes that you've made in the past. What's one thing that you think you need to improve on here at this track?
Well, you know, this place, it's really hard to get the car to turn through the middle, especially on the longer runs. So, you know, sometimes you have to give up and compromise in your drive off or your entry to get the car to turn the middle. So we've really been, you know, trying to get the car to just roll through the center more and more and more all the time. We hope that that pays off for us today.
Watch out for that 24 out there today, Alan.
All right, Shannon, thanks. As Shannon mentioned, Jeff is 112 points behind Jimmy Johnson, third place in points. And same question I asked you guys that I asked you about Mark. Jeff must gain points today to have a shot at the championship, yes?
Absolutely. He's got to gain points. He's got to rely that Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin have a problem. I don't think there's any way he can catch them unless they just have a big problem, wreck, bad pit stops, blown motor, something like that. That's got to happen for Gordon to win this thing.
Yeah, they've let a lot of opportunities slip away, and you heard Jeff say we haven't been able to capitalize, and they've yet been able to get the victory lane on these guys during the crunch time, so they have to have a fabulous day today, lead the most laps, win the race, to have a shot going into next week.
And I think that missed opportunity from Texas will haunt them. Will go into the championship for sure. He's not only got to gain points, he's got to get a big hunk to make it a viable race next week.
112 behind, 2 to go for Jeff Gordon. And again, he lines up for today's race in 14th position. Now, another player in today's race should be Kurt Busch. The winner last week at Texas has finished 2nd and 3rd in the last 2 Phoenix races. And 1 week ago, he and little brother Kyle kind of kept the lead all to themselves. The chase has come to Texas.
Hang in there all day and we'll go wear them out there, man. Have fun out there, Kurt. Let's do it.
Kyle Busch gets a good jump on the outside. Kurt Busch, though, drives back to the inside.
You know how much this reminds me of a legend car race?
What's that?
Because I got my brother in my mirror just stalking me.
Running hard or are you saving fuel?
Both.
Need you to save a little bit of gas. We're about lap short. The 00 is way short, and Kyle's about 3 laps short.
Are we going to be short or can we make it?
3.5 short. The 2 cars going to try to push it 1 lap further than us. And I think Kyle Busch is out of fuel. He's wiggling the car.
I'm out. Coming to you. I'm out.
Kyle Busch has run out of gas.
And Kurt Busch is the new leader on the back straightaway.
The fuel mileage works, and Kurt Busch will go to victory lane here at Texas.
How's the old tortoise versus the hare, baby? Woo!
After dominating the race last weekend down at Texas, but running a little shy on fuel, Kyle Busch comes here to Phoenix this weekend in search of a trip to victory lane. In case you missed it, yesterday here at Phoenix, Kyle Busch had a moment just like Jimmy Johnson did at Texas last week. Kyle was trying to clinch the NASCAR Nationwide Series championship when he spun 7 laps into the race.
The car just stepped out on him. He goes into the corner and just turns around. It's something you don't see happen to Kyle Busch a lot. But boy, he hit the right rear and the left front, and it did not get better throughout the day.
Kyle's crew made repeated repairs on the car. He came from the back to finish 9th. He will clinch the Nationwide Series title just by starting next Saturday's Ford 300 at Homestead Miami Speedway. As for today's race, he starts 7th, and Dave Burns is with him.
And Kyle, last week became a fuel mileage race. Did you replay that race at all and learn anything about what you could do today in case it becomes the same thing?
Really not much you can do better. I mean, we tried to save as much fuel as we can. You push the clutch in and roll as far as you can and all that stuff. It just didn't quite work out for us. But Dave and the guys have done a good job last week and this week. We'll see what we can work on today and see if we can't have another winning race car.
You think you got a contender today?
Not yet. We'll see how it goes. In practice, we weren't all that great. Dave made a lot of changes overnight, so hopefully it makes a difference.
All right, Kyle Busch will start 7th today at Phoenix.
All right, David, thank you. The chaos of the driver's introduction stage always as they try and put the drivers across the stage and into the convertibles for the trip around so the fans can see them before they climb aboard. Is that Jimmy crossing the stage?
That's Jimmy, that's the man right there. 4-time heavyweight champ coming up.
And there's Kurt Busch, just getting introduced. Las Vegas, only about 300 miles away from here. Kurt's PR person, Tom Roberts, was telling a story this week about how the first trip Kurt ever made to a cup race was when he was 13 years old here at Las Vegas. Wow. His dad was a distributor for Mac Tools, and his dad, Mom, and Kurt came down, and they got passes to go down on pit road before the race. And Rusty, they have a picture of Kurt standing in your pit holding the number 2 sign at age 13.
I'll be darned. How about that?
And now look at him today.
We talk about holding that checkered flag and stuff. You know, I wouldn't doubt if the guy wins a race again today. This car is strong today. He's qualified second. He won the race last week. He was in the top 2 or 3 all week long. I mean, this Miller Lite Dodge is just flat flying. And remember, Pat Tryson, his crew chief, is leaving, going to Michael Waltrip Racing next year, and he's still staying strong behind Kurt, and that car is still flat flying.
And I'll tell you guys, sitting here on the backstretch, we've got that, you know, a good view here. That car was strong in practice. We watched it come off of turn 2 and down this back straightaway through this little dog leg. He could be a contender today, Rusty.
We love live TV, huh, Jamie?
That's right. It's chaotic down here, but it's good because there's a lot of fans here. So, Kurt, we're talking about last week's win. The fact that your crew chief and you going separate ways in a week, what kind of message are you sending to your competition?
Well, it's nothing big. I mean, Pat's made the decision to move on, and we're trying to make the best of it that we can. And that's been the media's focus for us the last 8 weeks. But honestly, we're just 2 guys getting along really well, wanting to go out on the best way that we can. And we don't know what our future holds at Penske Racing, but we think we got to win in it today here at Phoenix, and we'll give our best shot at Homestead. And right now we're still mathematically in it, so we're giving our Miller Lite Dodge the best ride we can.
All right, you know this is the first time in NASCAR history the number 1 car and the number 2 car are side by side on the front row. You think it's good enough to keep it up front?
Hey, that's for the start. For the finish, maybe we can swap it around. It's going to be a long, long race settling in, and we just hope that we've got enough of a strong enough car to stay ahead of the competition and pull a win out today.
All right, Kurt Busch finished 3rd and 2nd the last 2 races here. Perhaps he will be the spoiler again. Alan?
He starts 2nd today, 171 points off the championship lead with 2 races to go. We are in Phoenix, the Valley of the Sun, where the rattlesnake's warning says stay away or there's trouble about to strike.
Tell you what now, that was good eating right there.
That's scary, man.
More on that in a minute. If our championship contenders hear a rattle today, it won't be good.
Oh, that's so bad.
You don't want rattles from inside those race cars, huh?
Them is good eating.
Fly with unit?
Yep.
Rick said
the final weekend of the NASCAR season is next weekend at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Tripleheader Friday night, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series finale, 7:30 Eastern on Speed. Saturday, the NASCAR Nationwide Series champion is crowned, the Ford 300, ESPN2 at 4 Eastern time. And next Sunday, the final race in the chase, the Ford 400. Will Jimmy Johnson or Mark Martin or Jeff Gordon be the one hoisting the trophy? ABC, 2:30 Eastern time next Sunday. Time for Taste of the Track, presented by Busch's Baked Beans. How about a little desert delicacy?
Ooh, I like that. Whenever I come to the Southwest, I'm always thinking about burritos, tacos, enchiladas. But one food that I stumbled upon with my good friend Daryl here is rattlesnake. Rattlesnake. Woo. Now, me being somewhat of a herpetologist, I love snakes. Yeah, I threw that on you. Yeah, that's good, that's good. What type of rattlesnake is this?
I can't be for sure. I know it's a slow one.
Slow rattlesnake.
Those are the ones that get caught. But more if it's the Southwest, it's Western Diamondback.
Look at these bad boys fried up. Get them on the plate.
It's breaded, mixed in with yellow, green, and pepper melange. Got some chopped garlic in there. Man. Lick of the wrist, drop in the grease, and let the grease take over.
All right, let's get on. I'm going to grab a little piece here. Let's see what we got here. Oh, man. Oh, man. Doesn't taste like chicken. That's good.
I have questions. Several questions. I like the nut. Didn't taste like chicken.
Didn't taste like chicken. It's kind of a bland taste.
Herpetologist?
Yeah, man. It's the study of reptiles and snakes. I love that. I love snakes. I used to.
Man, have you ever had anything that doesn't taste good? There's no way that can taste good.
This is the thing I figured out about race fans and race folks. is they like things that are fried, and you could probably fry a dirt clod, and it probably tastes pretty good, to be honest with you.
That's next week's show.
That's the reality.
Now, here's my other challenge. Was that it tastes good just for the camera, or if I had someone put one in front of you right now, would you eat it?
Yes, I would. And I know that we may have some in here, but it actually did taste very good because they used a corn fritter type mix. It had onions and red peppers and stuff, so it was really, really good. But rattlesnake on its own has a very bland taste, and it's very, very vanilla.
All right.
You're crazy.
He's trying to tell me that he put so much seasoning on top of that rattlesnake to cover up the taste. Then you breaded it. Now it's barely okay, right?
All right, come on. Here we go. Time to move on, get back to racing here. If you want to pick a winner for today's race, better look for somebody at the front of the grid, because the last 5 Phoenix races have all been won from a top 10 starting spot, 3 of them from the pole position. Starting on the pole today, Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car. We'll see if he might get that Chevrolet into victory lane for Chip Ganassi and Felix Sabates. There's Martin just finishing his ride around the track after being introduced to the crowd here in Phoenix and being delivered to the grid. Hope he has better luck today than he did last year when he finished in 43rd position. All right, time for our what to watch for now. Some things for you to keep an eye out for as these 312 miles, 500 kilometers go at Phoenix. Double file restarts on the narrow front stretch of this racetrack. Topic of discussion leading into the weekend. Didn't see any scrambles in the nationwide race yesterday.
Yeah, the nationwide race actually went okay, and usually in that race, guys, they have a lot of stack-ups at the start-finish line. They come through the gearbox, spin the tires, a lot of things go wrong, and they actually crash right at the start-finish line. We've seen that a lot in the nationwide series, but the particular event yesterday was okay. Today, I think it's going to happen again today, though. I think they're going to have problems today, too.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for that. Pit road, not just on the track. There's trouble on pit road sometimes here, particularly that curve on pit road.
Yeah, that's a curved pit road right there. You cannot see around it. There's a lot of crashes right there. Cars coming out, hit others. Ooh. Look at that. The 9-car Casey King spins out Sam Hornish Jr. You're going to see a lot of fender contact throughout the day. You got to be very, very careful. Much like the racetrack we always talk about, Martinsville, Virginia. Got a curved pit road, too. A lot of action that turn.
What about that pit stall that Mark Martin's team picked? The last one at pit entrance. You think that could be an issue?
Well, I'm a little bit worried about that. I really am, Alan, because the last time I came to Phoenix one time, and I picked that pit right there. I was leading the race. And just like Mark said earlier, when you pit and you pull out, a lot of the times the cars are still coming in and you can't get out. So that's not my personal pit of choice, that's for sure.
Something else to watch for on pit road, getting busted.
Yeah, just speeding. I mean, whenever you go here, Martinsville, Bristol, Richmond, places like that, where track position's so important, when you make a pit stop, especially a green flag pit stop, you really try to get off pit road quickly to reestablish position and not go a lap down. And it gets a lot of guys in trouble, like we saw with Kyle Busch in the spring. He was speeding on lap 302 of 312, and it cost him a race opportunity.
Flat tires.
Yeah, historically here at Phoenix, flat tires for lots of different reasons. Left sides from contact, right fronts from brake heat. No liners, just like Martinsville. Tire gets hot, melts that bead, goes out, could wreck the car. It's an old racetrack too. The guys will slide on it, slide the tire, definitely put a hole in it.
So all of those things, we're talking about anything can happen. All of those things can happen to our top guys in points. Could spread the gap, could close the gap. We'll have to see how it plays out here at Phoenix. Our J-Ski news and notes now. Bobby Labonte will team with the Racers Group, headed by Kevin Buckler for 2010. They have partial sponsorship in place so far. Michael Waltrip Racing and Toyota have extended their contract through the 2012 season. And Martin Truex Jr.'s car from Texas last week found to be too low in post-race tech. 50 driver and owner points plus a $50,000 fine for crew chief Kevin Mannion was the penalty. So obviously our top story of the day in the second to last race of the season, the championship. After Jimmy Johnson lost 111 points last week, he has a 73-point gap. Jimmy starting 3rd, Mark Martin starting 10th, Jeff Gordon starting back in 14th. 4th place in points, Kurt Busch starts 2nd today. And what these drivers all must be thinking right now.
Oh, I tell you, Jimmy Johnson's going to have to drive his brains out because Mark Martin's going to be right up his tailpipe. And this guy right here, Jeff Gordon, he's going to need a miracle. If he's going to win it, he's going to have the other guys break, in my opinion.
I like Jimmy Johnson's starting position. When he starts up front with this great race team he's got, they help him maintain that upward positioning throughout the day. But he's got the old gunslinger, Martin. digging at his heels today.
And Jimmy and Chad have got to focus on keeping that car in the top 5 and keeping it out of trouble until the last pit stop. Mark Martin's got to go up there and try and lead the most laps and win the race, and Jeff Gordon's got to hope that the other guys have a little trouble.
All right, the last 5 races here at Phoenix won by those 3 drivers, the top 3 in points. One of those win today, or one of the other 40 in the field?
Mark Martin's going to win this race today, in my opinion. I might be wrong, and I've been wrong a ton, but when I talked to Mark the other day, you could just look in his eyeballs, and he wants this thing bad. He's going to be on the throttle wide open. He's going to take no prisoners. He's going for it.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I think Denny Hamlin's going to win this race today. I really think Denny Hamlin has proven himself to be tremendous on these short tracks. I think he's got a great race car starting in the 5th position. I think he will win this race today.
Well, one of the championship guys who've got a good shot at winning it today, I think I'm going to go with them. Somebody's going to be carrying that trophy out of here in the next couple weeks, and the winner will come from that 3 today.
It's not a bad call. So, second to last race of the season, unfolding at Phoenix International Raceway on a beautiful fall afternoon. What's going to happen in this one? We'll find out. NASCAR Countdown returns after this message and a word from our ABC stations. It is one of the favorite trips of the drivers and teams, Phoenix, Arizona. I know a lot of parts of the country have had cold or wet weather over the past several days, but it's a sunny 70-degree day here for race 9 in the chase for the Sprint Cup. Another reason drivers and teams love this stop, this track. A mile around, short track style racing at higher speeds. They're going to be door to door and bumper to bumper for 312 laps with an awful lot at stake. Let's go trackside for the opening ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as Luke Air Force Base and Arizona Project Challenge present our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Phoenix International Raceway Chaplain Ken Bowers offers today's invocation.
Thank you, our blessed Heavenly Father, for allowing us to join you here today for the spectacle that is NASCAR racing. We are also very excited to be here. And we think of those who cannot be here because of health or distance or schedule or economy. And then we welcome the millions that join with us through the miracle of media. And we all lift our hearts with thanksgiving and praise for the great life that you've allowed us to live. Thank you for the beautiful day, the perfect way you've blessed us. These things we pray in your name, and everyone said, Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome multi-Grammy nominated American Music Award winner, star of international box office smash Transformer, Revenge of the Fallen, and now the creator of the best-selling digital comic book Mayhem, Tyrese Gibson, as he performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, oh, and the home of the brave.
And so the drivers begin to climb aboard and buckle up the safety equipment. We saw some championship drama last week. We saw some championship drama yesterday here in the Nationwide Series. Will it be drama or domination for this round of the chase? The engines fire at Phoenix next.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by Goodyear, innovative technology to help you get there. And Aflac, we've got you under our wing.
Previously in the chase.
No question Jimmy Johnson is in control at this point.
Just be cautious here at the start.
Trouble for Jimmy Johnson.
Here, take our time, get this thing fixed up.
The whole field thinks that this championship is back open again, and you know what? It is.
Oh, trouble. Turn 2. Montoya got into the 99.
Kurt Busch will go to victory lane here at Texas.
Mark's going to end up in 4th spot.
Awesome all day long. 10-4, buddy. Did what we had to do there. Nice job.
That's the deal, guys, right there. That's why we keep digging every day, because you never know what's going to happen.
12 drivers, 10 races, 1 champion. For 7 weeks, he was a man unto himself, blowing away a talented field, making a legendary moment seem like a foregone conclusion. Then, it happened. Now, the smooth ride into history has become a showdown in the desert. In an instant, the landscape changed for 2 veterans of the chase. The improbable is now very possible. And his sure thing is anything but. This chase is far from over, so watch your back, because the championship is survival of the fastest.
Who will the fastest be today in the second to last race of the season as the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series races in Phoenix? Will it be a Wild West showdown? We hope so. If it is, you figure the leading men in this picture will come from atop the championship standings. One team in particular who's not only dominating the chase, but has dominated this track too. For more on that, let's go to pit road and Vince Welch. Vince?
Alan, Hendrick Motorsports sits 1, 2, 3 in the chase standings. No company has ever finished with a top 3 sweep, and that is exactly the goal within this organization. Jeff Gordon crew chief Steve Letarte summed it up best when he said, Monday through Saturday, we all work together, but on Sunday, there's no one we want to beat more than our teammates, and there's no greater sign of respect. Well, Gordon, Martin, and Jimmy Johnson have combined to win the last 5 races here. Now with 2 to go in the chase, they're all in the hunt for the title. Could be significant swings in their positioning today, Dave Burns.
And Kurt Busch hopes he's a part of that. He's just 59 points behind Jeff Gordon and could mess up that 1, 2, 3 finish for Hendrick Motorsports. He's done well here in the past, and they brought the same race car that he led 63 laps with in the spring race here. Yeah, Hendrick may have the #1 spot locked up now with Jimmy Johnson, but 2 and 3, they're going to have to wait until the charge of Kurt Busch is over.
312 laps, 312 miles will tell us how this chapter in the chase plays out. As the drivers finish cinching up, we go trackside now, where the Grand Marshal for today's race is about to get things underway.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome United States Senator from Arizona and honored veteran, Senator John McCain, as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Fire when ready. Buddy, fired up. Crack it when you're ready. Good. Fired up when ready. Fire them up. Thanks, bud.
You got a copy down there?
Yeah, I got you. Make it happen today, okay? It's your racetrack.
Just in front of that, do the best we can. 10 spots here, don't take very long. So, drop off before that.
It is time to go racing in Phoenix. Well, our 3 boys in the booth all love their racing. They all have pretty good appetites, too. And I want to know if Dale Jarrett, Andy Petrie, and Dr. Jerry Punch have tried the rattlesnake yet this weekend, gentlemen.
Yeah, just did, Alan. It's good.
Not for me.
We let the crew chief try. I'm a doctor.
I'm the only one mean enough.
Hello, everyone. Glad to have you with us. You know, folks, following last week's troubles in Texas, Jimmy Johnson's point lead has shrunk to just 73 points with 2 races to go. And there are a lot of different scenarios that could play out today, but simply put, folks, Jimmy Johnson could clinch today and leave here as a champion. champion, or he could leave here as far back as third in the points. Guys, that's a lot to think about, a lot to worry about. You've talked to Chad Knaus. You've talked to Jimmy Johnson. What's the game plan today?
Well, it's kind of a twofold approach for the 48 team. I talked to Chad, and he said that, you know, they're going to go out here and try to win this race, do what they do best, go out there and charge and try to win, lead all the laps. If they can't do that, then they want to try to at least see Mark Martin, because if they can't win, they feel like Mark Martin's the guy to beat, and he'll probably win. So they want to be able to at least look at his back bumper all day long and make sure he doesn't get too far out there on him.
Well, it sounds like the driver and crew chief are kind of on the same page. Jimmy Johnson likes that scenario where he leaves here as the champion, but he's going to have to race hard to do that. That's his style. He wants to run up there, get as many points as he possibly can, because he also knows that if he finishes 5th in both of these last 2 races, he could possibly lose the championship if Mark Martin wins both and leads the most laps. So he's got to go after it.
Let me put you guys in Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon's shoes for a moment. Either one could leave here as the points leader if things were to go their way. What's their mindset?
Well, if I get to choose somebody's shoes, it's going to be Mark Martin's, because he has the least amount of points to make up. And what Mark's going to do, he's going to go out there and race with his heart. That's what he does the best. He is so passionate about driving this race car. He's going to go out there and leave it all on the racetrack. He's not going to leave anything out, bring anything back home. He's going to put it all out there and race with his heart and hopefully bring this thing home.
Yeah, and scenario's the same for Jeff Gordon. Just like the other 2 guys, he needs to try to win. He needs to lead laps, and that's what's going to be great. We're going to be the beneficiaries. These guys are going to be after it today, and we're going to have a great time watching them do it.
I can't wait to watch this one today. Now, folks, the man who sits back 5th in the point standings could actually still win it all. Tony Stewart may need a little help though to get there. He is our in-race reporter today. His crew is fired up and ready to go. Let's go down and visit with the driver of the Old Spice Chevy, who starts 8th today.
Hey, Smokes, DJ, got a copy?
Bud.
Hey, Tony, our first question comes from our mailbag, and Dennis in Brentwood, Pennsylvania says, you have had a lot of success at Phoenix in many different series. What is your one favorite memory?
I think it's probably, I won a midget race and Silver Crown race here in the same day, and that was pretty cool. It's, you know, this is one of those places that no matter what type of car you drive here, it's a fun track. It's challenging. The 2 ends are so totally different from each other that it's hard to get it right. You either get one end of the track right or the other, and you have to give up a little bit on the other end. So it makes it to where the driver really makes the difference here, I think.
All right, Tony, and talking about all of those different type cars you've driven here, this particular car, what is the biggest challenge in making it a winning car for you here today?
We made a lot of changes between yesterday and today. You know, we just didn't feel like we had the balance we were looking for, so we made a lot of changes and put it back closer to where we were in the spring, and hopefully it'll be kind of a learning process this first run to see what we have. But I'm excited. I mean, you just got to keep it balanced all day. You got to make the thing rotate through the center, and it's like it's like you fight one of 2 things here. If you either fight tight in the center or you fight loose off if it's rolling the center good. So I would rather be on the loose exit side and having it roll in the center good. So that's what we're shooting for.
All right, Smoke, thanks for talking with us. Have a great day. We'll hopefully talk to you later on. And now Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Mr. Darian Grubb.
All right, pal.
Hey, Darian, Andy Petrie in the booth. You got us?
That's it for I got you.
Hey, Darian, your team's performed excellent this year. You led the points at the end of the regular season, and you're 5th in points now. What's your expectations and goals for these final 2 races of the year?
Our goals are to go out there and win 2 races. We know we got the team that are capable of doing it. We want to get up there and finish in the top 3 in points no matter what, because that's what we feel like we've earned for this year. It's been a great building year for Stewart Haas Racing, and I'd like to wish Gene a happy birthday today. He's here with us, Mr. Gene Haas, so it'd be great to go out there and deliver him that win.
Okay, Darian, now you've got a car here as a flat racetrack. What kind of tracks does this one compare to? What kind of car did you bring here?
Like Tony said, the track's completely different on 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4, so it's a lot like Pocono for that fact. You have to give up a little bit to gain a little bit on the other end, but it's a car that we ran at Phoenix in the first race, Loudon, Richmond. It's a really good short track, lightweight car, so we're really looking forward to the performance today.
Okay, Darian, thanks for talking to us, and good luck today.
Thanks a lot.
Counting Tony, we'll have onboard cameras in a total of 8 different cars today, including 7 of which are chase contenders. Our top 3 in points are there: Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin, and Jeff Gordon. The only non-chaser carrying a camera, Kyle Busch. Could he play the role of spoiler here today? When we come back, we'll wave the green flag after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Cars Cars are rolling, and we are just moments away from the start of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Phoenix, presented by Goodyear. Starting order across the top of your screen: Martin Truex Jr., the 17th different pole winner here at Phoenix. We have 7 chasers starting in the top 10, including Jimmie Johnson in 3rd and Mark Martin back in 10th. Over-the-wall cameras. How about a little teamwork today? Front tire changer and front tire carrier for Robbie Gordon. There's Mark Hollywood Armstrong and Matt Strug. Guys, well, good luck down on the pit road today. Let's listen into the radio for Jimmie Johnson.
Let's get ready to start a great race here today. Focus solely and entirely on your job. Do everything to the best of your ability. Everything will work out today. Just remember, everybody, if we just do our jobs, everything will fall into place the way it should be. We just don't need to do anything out of the ordinary. Nice and smooth today.
Key words: nice and smooth today. Trying to hold on to a championship and make history. This broadcast is available in Spanish by activating your SAP button, presented by ESPN Deportes. Well, folks, 2 races to go in the chase, and this championship is very much up for grabs. NASCAR's finalists have come to the desert of Arizona with a championship hanging in the balance. Who will it be? Will one of these drivers take a step closer to history? They come down, and we turn them loose in Phoenix. Nice clean start through turns 1 and 2. Now up in the flat end of the racetrack, it'll be Kurt Busch in the Dodge. You will try to hold on. Here comes the pole sitter Truex back.
See Kurt Busch making that high line work. Whoa, close to the wall coming out of 4, but he's going to lead that first lap.
It looked like he had to get out of the throttle just a little bit, though. Martin Truex now looking on the inside.
You heard Jimmie Johnson in Countdown say he wants to be very aggressive early. Johnson has not led a lap in the last 2 races, and a hornet's nest back here for the 5 car. Mark Martin trying to make his way forward. And the 24 car back there as well.
These guys are 3 wide. You can't really race 3 wide through these corners.
Yeah, you see just a little bit of contact between Ruderman and Mears.
Watch a close call here. Mark Martin and the 14. Watch the 07 lock it up.
Whoa, that is a close call right there.
Jeff Gordon was right behind Casey Mears when this happened.
Yeah, you have to be really careful. This racetrack's been sitting here since yesterday afternoon. A lot of dirt has blown in onto the racetrack. They tried to blow some of it off, but it's still pretty slick right now.
By jamming on the brakes, Mark Martin would lose a position, now being shown back in 11th spot, and Jeff Gordon able to go by into 9th position. Jimmie Johnson, there's Johnson in 3rd spot. Kurt Busch, Martin Truex, and Jimmie Johnson, the top 3. Then we'll go back and see the 24 car of Jeff Gordon in 9th position. There's Gordon at the bottom of your screen. 10th is Stewart, and 11th is Mark Martin.
I said they couldn't race 3 wide around here, but I've been watching them, and they're doing their best to do it in a lot of different cases. We have a lot of racing action going on.
Sam Hornish making a move underneath the 18 car of Kyle Busch, and now here goes Jeff Gordon for position.
Yeah, Sam's had a great weekend so far. He was the fastest car in the first practice session. Now he's running the top 10.
How about this 88 car and the 42 car of Montoya? They are making their way toward the front in a hurry, both with good race cars.
Yeah, and you see this 07, he locked that left front up, and that's going to hurt him as they run here. That puts a flat spot on that tire, and it'll cause that thing to lose grip, and so he'll probably have to give up quite a few of these spots.
Yeah, Montoya being really aggressive here early in the race. He was one of the guys I saw 3 wide just a minute ago in the middle of turns 1 and 2 as they went to exit there. So he's trying to make his way forward as fast as he can.
Not Montoya 3 wide.
Yeah.
A.J. Allmendinger in the 44 car. That's a Ford. Beside him, Dale Earnhardt Jr. And behind Earnhardt Jr. is the 12 car of Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, and A.J. Allmendinger had a great run in that Ford last week at Texas. He was really good here yesterday in practice also.
Allmendinger getting the top 10 at Talladega. They see Keselowski now making his 2nd start for Penske Racing. Finished 35th at Texas, and he goes to the outside and nearly scrapes the wall there coming off the corner. Guys, this 88 car was one you guys were talking about this morning. He said if you had to pick a non-chaser to watch today, he would be a guy to keep an eye on.
Yeah, he had a great happy hour session. I was watching his lap times, and they mirror basically the 5 car you see here and the 48. So if he can get some track position through the day, I think he can be a contender.
Mark Martin able to drive now back by Tony Stewart to put himself back in 10th position.
Yeah, Mark lost a couple of spots on that initial start of the race, but he's now starting to pick these guys off one by one. Got himself back in the top 10 now.
We mentioned Mark Martin did win the race here in April. He set on the pole, led the most laps, over 150 laps. But the conditions were a little bit different in April than they are here. A little bit cooler today than it's been much of the weekend. There's the 48 car, our points leader, Jimmy Johnson. Dave.
Other crew chiefs were telling me this morning that they thought the 48 was very good. I told Chad Knaus that this morning, and he said, you know what? I like that when the competition says that. We pushed hard in practice to get this car where it needed to be, and we feel like it will be a race winner. Early on, Jimmy Johnson's car is just a little bit free. The back end wants to wiggle a little bit, so he turned off the fans that cool the front tires and wheels. That will actually build up heat there and take away some of that loose condition. Doc?
You know, great thoughts already in the pits as you're talking about Chad Knaus making that call. One flip of the switch can actually impact the air pressure.
Yeah, it's just a small thing. You put those blowers on the tires and try to cool them slightly. If you turn that switch off, it will allow that air pressure to come up a little bit with some heat. So it's definitely the right thing to do with that situation.
Yeah, one of the very few adjustments that a driver has inside the race car to make an adjustment on the car and make a difference.
Now, it's not night and day. It's just a small thing, but it is in the right direction.
12 laps in of 312, and last week's winner, Kurt Busch, showing the way here at Phoenix. Want a chance to win $10,000? Put your NASCAR knowledge to the test with the ESPN Pick 12 Challenge. Go to ESPN.com/Pick12 and guess the order the 12 chase drivers will finish next week in the season finale at Homestead. We'll announce who picked this week's order in the first 30 laps of the Phoenix race, so make sure you watch. This week's winner who picked the correct order from Texas is Christy M. from Greentown, Indiana. So congratulations to Christy. Riding along there with the 5 car, and Mark Martin already on the move. He's now moved into 8th position. And what does that mean in terms of the point standings? It was 73 when the day began. Jimmy Johnson is still running in 3rd spot, and by Johnson being now 5 spots ahead, that means the differential is now 96 points between Johnson and Martin. Kurt Busch the leader, Martin Truex Jr. in 2nd, Jimmy Johnson has stabilized in 3rd. Johnson has not led a lap, neither has that guy in the 5 car, but now Martin on the move. His laps, the last 4 or 5 laps, have actually been quicker than the top 3 cars.
Yeah, he's been easing by a few cars. He passed Greg Biffle the last lap or so, and now he's run down this group.
Vince?
Yeah, in fact, Mark indicated that the car's balance was very good here in these early laps. And guys, he echoed what you guys had indicated about the track getting a little dusty overnight. And Mark said in these early laps, just trying to get a handle on the racetrack, but the car's balance is good. You know, these Hendrick cars are often set up very similarly to one another, especially to start a weekend. The 5 and the 24, I talked to both crew chiefs this morning. They said their cars are almost identical, a lot closer between those two than the 48 or the 88. So might keep an eye on that as the race progresses. But the 5 car, Mark Martin, likes it early.
Thank you very much, Vince. Other action around the racetrack. There's the 42 of Montoya, the 00 behind him. Pretty good battle for 13th position. Ryan Newman back behind him on the inside of David Rudiman.
Yeah, the cars they're running single file, but this is giving guys opportunity when their cars are a little better to make a pass, just like Mark Martin right here on Sam Hornish. You can get by one, you can kind of put a slide job. You don't, because they're not running nose to tail all the way around, then that gives you that opportunity when your car's a little bit better. And we have run a little over 20 laps now, so that's really starting to show up who has the better handling cars.
Now that the 5 car has made that pass, the next car that he will catch will be his teammate, the 24 car of Jeff Gordon, running in 6th spot.
Yeah, both these guys doing a nice job of moving forward. Jimmy Johnson still sitting there in the 3rd spot where he started. But Mark and Jeff both are moving forward.
Again, Jimmy Johnson in 3rd position, Gordon in 6th. Gordon has made the biggest move thus far. He started back in 14th position, now all the way up to 6th among the chase contenders, I should say. Martin back in 7th spot. Ryan Newman taking a spot away. Big news for Newman this week. The U.S. Army announced they'll be back as a sponsor on his car in 2010.
Yeah, that's great news for them. And you talk about movers. Our biggest mover is a car we've watched in practice be really good, Andy. Jeff Burton, he just started so far back, but he has worked his way up to 21st. He's moved up 15 spots so far.
Now, he's had a great weekend also, except for qualifying. He just did not get a good qualifying run. So he has a little ground to make up, but he is doing it.
There's a 31 car of Jeff Burton, a 2-time winner here at Phoenix. And what a job he did last week at Texas, guys, in a backup car. He started 42nd and finished 9th.
Yeah, that was a brand new car that they crashed in practice, and they had to get a car out that was not a new car, and did a good job with it. They didn't feel nearly as good about it, but they did get a good finish. Vince?
Well, there hasn't been a lot go right for this team. Remember, a year ago they were 4th in points at this time. Today they are 17th and chase contenders each of the last 3 years, but not in the mix this season. As you guys indicated, kind of had a handful of this car throughout the course of the weekend. Just been tight. They've thrown things at it, haven't been able to get it to work to their liking, but they've made some changes overnight. Much better here in the early going in this first stint.
Certainly making the best of those changes, Vince, as he is moving up. There's the 88 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was dropping back a little bit. Shannon.
Yeah, a little surprising, because speaking with Lance McGrew this morning, he was very happy with the car. But there was a scary moment here at Phoenix for the crew guys, the over-the-wall guys for the 88 team. On their way into the track this morning, they were involved in an accident. The van that they were driving in was hit by another car. The car spun around, the van that they were in spun around. All of the guys did go to the infield care center and were checked out. I spoke with the guys today. A little sore muscle, sore neck, some sore joints, but other than that, they're very good. The guys are here for the entire race, and everyone's feeling fine for Dale Jr. today.
Thank you, Shannon. The 48 car working inside of Max Pappas. Remember, he got contact in the early laps at Texas that took him to the garage area, and he's able to get by Max Pappas now as he is being shown in 3rd position behind Martin Truex Jr. Trying to move in on Truex, really can't make much progress there.
Yeah, he's starting to really in just a little bit, running some faster laps. Looks like Jimmy's car might be a little better on this longer run than what the first 2 cars of Truex, Kurt Busch are right now.
Jimmy Johnson has won 3 of the last 4 races here. The one he didn't win back in the spring, won by that guy, the 5 car, the exact car that Mark Martin ran here in April.
Yeah, he's running some of the fastest lap times. He's very equal to, if not just a little better than Kurt Busch when he's in clear traffic, or clear of traffic.
So Kurt Busch is our leader, has led all 28 laps thus far. Jimmy Johnson being shown in 3rd position, and Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin on the march toward the front. Kurt Busch, our leader here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Phoenix, presented by Goodyear. Kurt has led all 33 laps thus far. Last week's winner at Texas actually jumped a couple of spots in the point standings to 4th overall in the chase points. His margin just under 2 seconds ahead of the 2nd place car of Truex. And Jimmy Johnson now challenging for 2nd position inside of Truex. He's been running 3rd as they drop the green flag, and Johnson will gain a spot. Let's update the 48 car. Dave.
And I know driver and crew chief up there have experienced this before. When a driver has a complaint about the car, but it's not as bad as some other guys, including the guys he's passing. So right now, Jimmy is a little bit concerned about the rear end of the car being on top of the track, and in the center of the corners, the car's a little bit loose, but apparently that's better than Martin Truex's car.
Chad Knaus very intently watching his driver there. Now, we told you that Jimmy Johnson could actually clinch the championship here. He must finish 4th or better in the remaining 2 races to clinch. And no matter what anyone else would do, he would be the champ. But as you said, DJ, if he finishes 5th in the last 2 races, he could still lose the championship. It's just that close.
Yeah, it's just so much up in the air. So we've got a lot of great racing here the rest of the afternoon. Jimmy's doing his job, complaining about his car just a little bit. But as he's complaining, he's moving forward. He's moved up in that 2nd spot, running some lap times that are a little better than the leader right now.
Got to believe the reason he got on the move is because he realized that these guys, Gordon and Martin, are starting to march up there, Andy. These guys are now showing in 5th and 6th place.
Yeah, Jimmy's made up one spot, but Mark's made up quite a few spots now. He's up in the 6th spot after starting 10th. Jamie?
Well, I think after last week's disappointing finish, when they finished 13th, it was a missed opportunity, and that lit a fire under this team. They realized that they still have a shot at this championship. They brought a good car here. They feel like it's better than they've been in recent years. Right now, he's saying he's tight in the middle at both ends, but remember, he started 14th all the way up to 5th. Vince?
Well, and Mark Martin and Alan Gustafson, his crew chief, thought they were going to have a good car today, and it has turned out certainly to be that way on this first run. This is the same race car that they won with here in April. It's also the car they used to win the Chase opener at Loudon, so they're very comfortable with this race car and what it has, and it's real close to the setup that they had here in April, but they actually feel like it's a little bit better. That may be bad news for everybody else as you see Mark going under the 24 of his teammate Jeff Gordon now.
And Vince, Mark Martin getting better and better each and every lap, somewhat like what happened here in April. What about Mark Martin? He could be the points leader here. A win and a 16th place finish by Johnson gives Martin the points lead coming out of here. Now, if Martin would get up there and lead the most laps, he could take the points lead if Johnson finishes 14th or worse.
Mark's car certainly looks good right now. He's still able to keep it on the bottom of the racetrack. You can see Jeff Gordon just kind of pulled over once Mark got to his bumper. Let Mark go to kind of see what he might pick up if there's something that Mark is doing with his car.
Leader Kurt Busch now starting to work some traffic at the back of the field. There's a 19 car of Elliott Sadler. And this might just help Jimmy Johnson possibly reel him in. Let's update the 2-car. Dave.
From the beginning of the race, Kurt's been very quiet on the radio. He was reminded early, okay, you're saving brakes. Now when you're out front, you can get away with that a little bit. Now that he's in traffic, he's got to work those brakes a little bit, and he'd like some adjustments on the first stop because he's finding that he wants it to handle better in the center of the corner. He also complained about the car being just a little bit loose off, but for now, Kurt Busch has him covered.
He does indeed have him covered, and I wonder if the spotters are telling him that 48 car is easing in on him.
I'm sure you can probably see some of it. You can see how hard Jimmy Johnson is driving the car. He was smoking the tires down in. He got on the brakes to look like a little hard getting down into turn 1 just a minute ago.
Yeah, he's getting aggressive. He is definitely driving hard. Saw that smoke. I don't know if it was just locking the left front up or dragging the splitter, but we could definitely see smoke in the middle of 1 and 2.
Yeah, and even as a driver, this is a racetrack because there's so little grip out there and it's so different. You're always searching to change your race car to make it better because seldom do you ever get it to where you say, okay, I don't need any changes here. You're always searching for something to make you a little better.
Trying to get through that traffic there. I wonder if Jimmy Johnson knows that that 5 car is over a tenth a lap faster than he is right now.
Well, right now, I think he's more focused on the back bumper of that 2 car, and he's trying to make up ground past these lap cars so he maybe can get that lead and get a couple or get 5 points by leading the lap.
Paul Menard was right down in front of the 2 car. Now he slides up and will let Kurt Busch get by, but that gave Jimmy Johnson about 4 or 5 more car lengths to move in.
Yeah, did that. And talking about Jimmy, I can assure you his total focus isn't about what Jeff Gordon or Mark Martin are doing. He knows he's in 2nd place right now. That'll be good enough. Those other guys are still behind him. Even if they're a little bit faster, he's not concerned. All he's concerned with what they can do to make that 48 car better.
Jimmy Johnson, the points leader, and as you said, knows he's in front of the guys that are chasing him, so he's only going to get better. 44 of 312 laps in it here at Phoenix. Kurt Busch is our leader.
ESPN's Monday Night Football continues in the AFC North. Ray Lewis leads the Baltimore Ravens against Josh Cribbs and the Cleveland Browns. It's Ravens-Browns on ESPN's Monday Night Football at 8:30 Eastern. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 7 Eastern Time.
We get to see Brady Quinn step back in as quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Can he lead the charge against Joe Flacco and the Ravens, who have struggled a little bit?
Here in Phoenix, the second last race of the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup being led by Kurt Busch. He has led every one of the 49 laps that have been run so far, about to make it 50 on the board. From the pit studio with Rusty Wallace, Brad Daugherty, and Ray Evernham, you look across top of the screen at the current point standings as they run on the racetrack. Busch is running first. Jimmy Johnson's running second in the race. Mark Martin's running fifth. Jeff Gordon is running sixth. That's where the top 4 of the points are now. Gentlemen, opening impressions?
Well, right now, I'm really really impressed what Jimmy Johnson's doing. He's got a good, solid car. He's really no better than Mark Martin. In fact, their lap times the last time by Mark Martin, Jimmy Johnson, almost identical. But Kurt Busch is out front right now, and he's just setting a torrid pace. He's still faster than most people on the racetrack, although Johnson's starting to squeeze in on it just a little bit. I really do think when the pit stops happen, though, there will be some adjustments going on, and these guys tuned up to these new track conditions that they did not have yesterday.
Yeah, they've kind of cycled out. Everyone's settled in. Looks like Kurt Busch has got a really strong race car. It'll be interesting. About 30 laps away from pit stops. We're going to see what type of adjustments are made, and as they settle into the second part of the race, we'll see who's fast. But Jimmy Johnson is very strong right now.
Now, I want you to watch something from the 48 car as the race for the lead tightens up in heavy lap traffic. Hang on a second here. Get to the replay we're going to show you in a second. They've run up on the tail end of the field. Eric Darnell in the 96 and some of the other lap cars side by side might help the 48 car get those bonus points for leading the lap.
Oh, you can tell right now that Jimmy Johnson wants to get around Kurt Busch really bad right there. Got pretty squirrely, those guys did this previous lap. There he goes, inside, trying to get those 5 points. He's got a drag race back down the line. Got him. 5 bonus points for Johnson. That was big right there, guys.
Yeah, he did a good job manipulating that traffic, and this is classical short track racing. You got to maintain your pace. You got to keep going forward, and you have to pass those lap cars. You got to get rid of them and dispose of them as quick as you can.
He's going to have to be careful in that traffic, or he's going to get the points that Mark Martin needs. He bangs the fender or something and gets a flat tire.
Points. Nice, smooth.
There you go. Now, this is what the replay we're going to show you a minute ago. Watch this from the 48 car.
Just a little smoke out the exhaust there, and then you see that flame. I don't feel that's anything to be concerned about. Sometimes with the unleaded fuel, when you're off the gas, the way they seal these motors and pull these carburetors, it puts raw fuel out that tailpipe.
I can tell you one thing for sure. I'll never doubt what you say, Ray. You're one of the very best. But, Brad, I hate it when I see smoke come out of a tailpipe.
That's got to scare you. Let's go down to Tim Brewer in the Craftsman Tech Garage to see what's going on. Tim, what you got?
Thanks, Brad. Ray's exactly right. We've been talking about the splitter smoke, but as the fuel's coming into the engine here, it's turning over 9,000 RPMs. When the driver shuts the throttle down, meaning the carburetor, you're turning over 9,000 RPMs, throttle wide open. As long as you shut it down, that fuel's still somewhere in the intake manifold, coming out through the exhaust. But where you see the fuel reignite, it's a sealed system all the way from the combustion chamber down through the headers. But when you see it reignite, it's right here, because why? You've got oxygen. That's where the flames start again. The other place you might see a little smoke, a lot of brakes, because when they get on those brakes, they literally smoke. A lot of friction there, other than sliding the tires. Those are the only 3 places I know smoke's coming from off these race cars.
And again, I agree with Rusty. When you see smoke from a race car, it always gets your attention. So now with Jimmy leading and having gotten those bonus points, there's the real-time running order. Mark in 5th, 108 points is the gap between the two, but we've got a long way to go. Martin trying to get a spot on Denny Hamlin here. That would be actually trying to get a couple of spots, not only Hamlin, but Martin Truex. That'd be for 3rd and 4th. Now let's talk about pit stop schedules for just a minute. Caution-free for 58 laps, Ray. You've been tracking some of the numbers. What are we looking at?
Well, it could be, some of my history says that we could be facing a caution here within the next 20 laps, and that's liable to fall right in the middle of green flag pit stops. And if that happens when some of the leaders are on pit road and other people stay out, it's going to put some good cars a lap down.
So Mark Martin through Martin Truex up into the number 4 spot and chasing Denny Hamlin for 3rd. We'll keep an eye on when those pit stops begin as we are caution-free thus far in Phoenix. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. We're back to Phoenix after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Here are the current standings for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year. Points are accumulated by the team who wins a race by fan votes and by an ESPN pick. You see it's Jeff Gordon, Earnhardt Jr., Stewart, and Jimmy Johnson. You can make your pick for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year by texting the car number for the pit crew you think is the fastest and most valuable in each race to 2258. Standard messaging rates do apply. Up front, Jimmy Johnson is our leader, and Johnson has now led the last 9 laps. Johnson and Kurt Busch, the only 2 drivers that have led today, and by virtue of leading, that's 5 more points for Jimmy Johnson. The margin now between him and the 4th place running Mark Martin car is 103 points, top of your screen. Jeff Gordon, 147 points back. And boys, we're easing in on pit stops, looking around lap 70 or so. And a very, very treacherous curved pit road. And this guy, Mark Martin, has the very first pit stall coming off of turn 4.
Yeah, if they make green flag pit stops, it's going to be interesting, especially if they all try to come in together. And you see, have a lot of cars on pit road. And Mark does have that first stall coming in. That should be actually a pretty decent spot. I mean, you come in there, no problem getting to your pit stall, and then pull out and get against the wall and come all the way around. You don't have to worry about that curve at the other side of the pit road where it is very difficult to find your pit box.
There you can see Kyle Busch. He's running up in the 10th spot right now. I think that's pretty impressive. You crew chief, these are exactly the type tracks that's really given them trouble over the last couple of years, having a good solid effort here in this first run.
He had a frustrating day yesterday in the early laps of the NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Everybody thought he would just finish 7th or better and clinch the championship, but it was not to be because the car went around on him inside of 10 laps from the green flag.
Yeah, as frustrating as it was for Kyle Busch yesterday, though, he virtually did seal that championship. All he has to do is start the car at Homestead, and he is the Nationwide Series champion. Shannon?
And what a heartbreaker it was for this team last week at Texas. Led all those laps and then ran out of fuel towards the end. Speaking with Dave Rogers, crew chief for the second week for Kyle Busch, they were not very happy with this car in happy hour. He said the body control of the car did not look comfortable on the racetrack. Right now, Kyle Busch telling his crew the thing I need most help with is getting through the center of the turns. They are going to make an air pressure adjustment on their pit stop, guys.
Yeah, Kyle won this race here at Phoenix in the fall as a rookie back in 2005. Finished 17th in the spring race here. Really had trouble getting his car to turn here back in April.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that everybody seems to fight here. If you can't make your car turn, here comes Greg Biffle, who was running 9th into the pits. But if you can't make your car turn in the center, that's just only going to create problems the rest of the way around the corner for you.
See, Clint Boyer coming in. McMurray is already there. First scheduled stops of the day are coming out under green. Let's go down to Dave.
Greg Biffle had dropped to the 9th position from his 6th starting spot. The car has gotten very, very loose. 3/4 of a round of wedge in the left rear, full of Sunoco fuel and 4 tires for Biffle, pitting here on lap 69.
99 is in. Carl Edwards. Shannon.
Carl Edwards says that the car is chattering. It's tight across the center. What we're hearing a lot of drivers complain about, it's going to be an air pressure, and they're going to go up on that track bar. 4 tires for Carl Edwards, who was your nationwide winner last night. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is also into his pit box. Remember, guys, his crew guys were involved in that wreck earlier today, so they're a little bit sore going over the wall for Jr. Right now, the car's pushing through the center. He says the tires are also spinning off, so they are going to make some adjustments, an air pressure adjustment, and 4 tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr. looking for a solid run here at Phoenix. The biggest thing they're going to have to battle is that they're all the way at the back of the track. They qualified 18th for this race today. Doc?
See those coming off pit road. You see Bobby Labonte coming down. The 17 car of Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, the points leader and race leader there on your screen waiting for his stop. Here's the 31 car of Jeff Burton in the pits for his first stop of the day.
Well, see how tight it is there under green. You just having to come around David Gilliland in the 09.
Here comes the 1 car, Martin Truex, who was the pole sitter. Jamie.
Yes, they had a penalty last week, so what a way to rebound this week and sit on the pole. The car has just gone away from him. Of course, same thing everybody's been saying, the car just won't turn. But now he's gotten really loose off, so air pressure adjustment seems to be the call for all these cars on pit road. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel. You saw a wrench go in the back. They did make a track bar adjustment to try to help him turn. And Jeff Gordon in the 24 making his way in now. He's saying his car is getting worse. They've been struggling with the fact it's not turning well, and now he's getting loose off. So they're going to adjust on that. A little bit of air pressure. Oh, and almost a collision with the 77. Jeff Gordon makes it in his box safe. They work on the right side. 4 tires, putting a ½ pound of air pressure in the right rear to help him get through the center. Dave?
Jimmy Johnson had been complaining that the rear of the car was on top of the track. He will get an adjustment for that chassis-wise. Looks like it'll be a wedge adjustment, perhaps track bar. 4 fresh tires for him as well.
Mark Martin getting a 4-tire change. Got to believe they made a little bit of an air pressure adjustment on Mark's car as well, but the adjustment on the 48 as he comes down.
Yeah, look here, though. The 2 car of Kurt Busch is going to get the lead off pit road.
How about that for a lame duck crew chief, Pat Crossett and the bunch, getting it done down there for Kurt Busch.
Yeah, we still have a few cars left on the racetrack, though. Actually, Ryan Newman being shown as the leader is in the pits now. It should complete the cycle.
Let's go down to Dave.
Hey guys, one of the biggest movers on the day had been Ryan Newman. Let's see if they can keep some of that track position. He had driven all the way from his 24th starting spot up to 13th. His car right now for Ryan, it was loose most of the run. And they're just going to make a standard pit stop for him right now. 4 fresh tires for Newman.
And here are a couple of teammates that have made their pit stops back on the racetrack. Martin and Gordon being shown in 4th and 5th position. The 2-car Kurt Busch is our leader. And after a cycle of pit stops, Jimmy Johnson now right behind him with him in his sights. And that 2-car good on the racetrack and good on pit road.
Yeah, that was really impressive, and Jimmy would have liked to be able to keep the lead there to add up some more laps and see if he could have get that bonus for leading the most laps today. But now, Kurt Busch being out front, he's adding to his total.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson in 48 had a 15-second pit stop, so that's not quite as fast as they're used to making. There's a couple seconds off. That's how he lost the lead.
If you just joined our coverage, both of these drivers, Kurt Busch, the current leader, and Jimmy Johnson, have led laps today. Both have gotten bonus points. The only other leader we've had is Ryan Newman, who led 1 lap a moment ago, while these guys were coming down to make their pit stop. Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin, neither one of those cars have led a single lap today, so those guys want to get up there and get those bonus points. When the day began, it was a 73-point margin between Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin. Right now, it is 83 points, as Johnson being shown in 2nd spot, plus the 5 bonus points for leading, and Mark Martin now all the way up into 3rd position.
Yeah, Mark Martin had a real easy way in. You know, he doesn't have anybody before him, so he could get in his stall. Then he had a free exit because nobody was pitted in front of him at the time. So good, clean in and out for Mark Martin.
Yeah, it shows you how difficult this racetrack is. We look at our top 4 in our point standings. It's the top 4 running here today. I think that tells you that the teams that are up there running up front are the ones that have their act together and battling for the championship.
29 car of Kevin Harvick really struggling here. He actually came down pit road on lap 61. He was the first of the cars to come on because the car just not handling well at all. Up front, it is Kurt Busch in the Dodge. Dodge has never won here at Phoenix in NASCAR Sprint Cup competition. Jimmy Johnson is 2nd. $83 laps in the books here at the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Checker O'Reilly Parts 500 at Phoenix. They're the lead twosome. Kurt Busch is the leader. Jimmy Johnson in 2nd position. Now let's compare these pit stops, and boy, one going up and one going back.
Yeah, that was the result of the green flag round of pit stops. You see Jimmy Johnson lost a spot to Kurt Busch. Mark Martin actually gained a spot, so his crew doing a good job. And really, this thing could come down to the pit crews as far as who finishes in front of who. It's that kind of racetrack. Track position is everything.
Well, not only is Mark Martin's pit crew quick on the racetrack, DJ, that 5 car is the fastest car on the track right now.
Yeah, he's showing to be the best car out here right now. These 2 guys he's trying to chase down are really good right now, too, with Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson. But Mark Martin's car looks really, really good here this afternoon.
83 points the margin, top of your screen. Gordon back 127. Martin being shown in 3rd position. Gordon in 4th spot. Neither one of those guys have led a lap. After the frustrations at Texas a week ago where Jimmy Johnson finished 38th, it was a very long week for this team. Jimmy said frustrated, they lost what was a very comfortable point margin, had to do a lot of thinking, and really, really wanted to come here and be able to run up front and lead the most laps and be able to maybe even dominate if he could, as he's done in the past.
Yeah, when you have things like that happen and you're battling for a championship, you wish that you were back in the car the next day because you want to so make up for that and make things happen.
Let's watch these speeds at the line right here. Mark Martin now finally has a little bit of clear racetrack, and he is the fastest car right there so far that's come by. Denny Hamlin there, 3rd. Actually, Truex now.
ABC Comedy Wednesday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. There are 2 big reasons to watch the fall's #1 new comedy. Ed Norton and Elizabeth Banks guest star on ABC's Modern Family Wednesday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, right here on ABC. ABC Comedy Wednesday.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that show, you need to watch it. That's pretty funny stuff. That's good. My kids love it.
It's no laughing matter right now for these two guys. They probably don't realize it, but that 5 car is on the move. And right now they're trying to move in on the 43 car of Reed Sorensen, who's being shown a lap down in 30th position.
Comes Jimmy Johnson again, trying to take that lead back. Believe he's going to get it.
Yeah, he's going to use that 43 car as a pick right here off the corner.
Yeah, he's really been dogging Kurt Busch the last few laps. He got up to his bumper. When Kurt got up to the 43, he saw this as an opportunity.
Kurt trying to be very careful and tiptoe by the 43, and it'll cost him the lead there as Johnson will take it away here on lap 90.
Yeah, and see Reed Sorensen really fighting to try to stay in front of these two. He had a great race yesterday in the Nationwide Series.
And you can see Jimmy really battling that race car too. He got down on the apron. That you can see him down on there again. Loosens the car up somewhat, but he has stayed in the throttle, really working the steering wheel.
For those of you watching at home, you see that yellow line. You can go below the yellow line here at a racetrack like Phoenix. It's only Daytona and Talladega where there's a double yellow line that you can't go below it without being penalized by NASCAR. Sam Hornish, watch the 77 car of Sam Hornish, who had been one of the best cars in practice and even early in this race making moves.
Yeah, he did. He had a little problem on that green flag pit stop where it's about a 20-second stop. Looked like it was on the right-hand side. They had some problems.
Now being shown back in 21st position, trying to go by the car of Brian Vickers for 20th. Here's the stop for Sam Hornish. Whoa, just jams the brakes off.
That causes so many problems. You mess up all your rhythm on the pit stop. Every tire change has to adjust, the jack man. And now they've got more issues. They can't hardly get around to the left-hand side. You see, Sam's going to have to back up to give the jack man and the tire changer some room. So this was kind of a disaster under green. And this is the 48th green flag pit stop. He did lose one spot there to Kurt Busch. Not nearly as bad as the stop that we saw in the 77, but it was a 15-second stop and not as fast as this team is used to making. See a little bit of trouble on that left rear tire there on the 48.
And Denny Hamlin also lost position. They had a lug nut issue here on the 11 pit.
Yeah, looks like the jackman's struggling just a little bit to get the car up on the left side. Just things not going right. The left front, you see they're trying to get a lug nut on there. With the official standing there, you have to take the time to put those lug nuts on.
Denny Hamlin now being shown back in 5th position. Very good race car and very good on flat racetracks. And if you don't put that lug nut back on here and you have to come back down pit road, you're talking about losing at least 2 laps under green.
Yeah, that extra second that it might take to put that lug nut on is a lot more valuable.
You're going to put it on, whether it's then or later when you come back down pit road.
Yeah.
It's that next trip down pit road that costs you.
That's what happened to Jeff Gordon here in the spring. He had to come back down pit road with a lug nut issue, and he lost 2 laps, went all the way back to 35th position. There's Jimmy Johnson right now, our leader. Kurt Busch in 2nd spot. Now let's interval back to Mark Martin. It was an entire straightaway. Now it's half a straightaway back to the 5 car, who is easing in on Jimmy Johnson. Mark Martin has yet to lead a lap today, but he is the fastest car on the racetrack. Can he get there? We'll find out when we come back in just a moment. Jimmy Johnson, our leader here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Phoenix, presented by Goodyear. Johnson going by the 20 car of Joey Logano to put Logano a lap down on now only 28 cars on the lead lap. And Robbie Gordon twitching right in front of Johnson there. He's trying to stay on the lead lap as well.
Yeah, these cars fighting very hard. Joey Logano also made it very difficult for Jimmy to get by him and trying to stay on this lead lap. And you see there Robbie Gordon really racing hard. Kind of a risky situation for Jimmy, but he has to keep pushing hard.
Yeah, Robbie Gordon's been running a higher line than a lot of cars out here today, but he gets a really good run off the corner by doing that.
Jimmy gets a good run this time.
Well, let's take you up to speed on the top 5 cars, beginning with our leader, Jimmy Johnson. Dave.
And of course, we've heard from the driver and the crew chief today about why they might race as hard as they are right now. One other thing, Jimmy called it this weekend, the medicine. He said after last week at Texas, getting back on the racetrack and back in this race car is what he could not wait to do. Really didn't have a lot of emotion tied to last week, but wanted to get back to the racetrack and get going again. And they certainly have done that. They are still the leader. Kurt Busch running along in 2nd now, having lost the lead again to Jimmy Johnson. Pat Tryson is his crew chief, and as most folks know, will not be here after this season. Pat has brought himself to the racetrack at times since the announcement and found that the race cars he's looking at, he's never seen before. The one Kurt's racing today, he does know. It's been run 6 times, including a 3rd place here earlier this year, and Pat says, oh yeah, I know that car, and I know it'll be good today. Vince?
The 3rd place car of Mark Martin. Crew Chief Alan Gustafson in the team meeting about 45 minutes before this race told his pit crew, let's make sure we're 100% today. Let's be perfect in the pits. They were pretty close on that first pit stop. They picked up Mark 1 spot. He really liked the balance of his race car in that first stint. They made no changes on that initial stop, but he says, I can maybe use a little bit of wedge now. Jamie?
Well, I had a little visit with Steve Letarte, crew chief for Jeff Gordon this morning, and I asked him about the chances of winning the championship. He said, you know, we're very cognizant of the fact that we can do it. It's still within our grasp, but we need help. We need to capitalize on other people's mistakes. And he said, we're also thinking about maintaining a top 3 points position. Kurt Busch has been on the move, and we need Hendrick 1, 2, 3. Right now, the changes are helping the car, although it's not showing up on the board. Behind him, Denny Hamlin. Mike Ford, his crew chief, told me this morning, even though they finished 2nd last week, they messed up in the pits, and that was a big concern here. So what happened on the first pit stop here? They dropped a lug. Has a great race car, but they need to nail it in the pits if they want to get up there for the win, Doc.
Thank you, Jamie. Behind these guys, our pole sitter, Martin Truex Jr. being shown in 6th position. One of the best runs he has had this year. He hasn't had a top 5 since Watkins Glen in August of 2008. Leaving this ride after one more race to move over to Michael Waltrip Racing in 2010. Would love to leave these guys and Earnhardt Ganassi Racing maybe with a top 5 or a possible win before the year is over. Carl Edwards going 1 lap down. A year ago, he was battling for a championship. He won the nationwide race here yesterday, but not a good day for Carl Edwards. Still winless in 2009 after winning 9 races a year ago. Jimmy Johnson, our leader. Mark Martin in 3rd spot. Back after this message and a word from our ABC station.
Second to last race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season, and now Sprint brings you an inside look at the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup on the Now Network. Current top 3 in points. As you see, Jimmy Johnson leading Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon. As they run on the racetrack, Mark 98 points behind, Jeff a buck 42 behind. Top speed in the race so far set by Kurt Busch on the 2nd lap of the event. 27.38 seconds while he was wrestling with pole sitter Martin Truex Jr. for the lead. For more NASCAR stats, in-car audio, and live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed. Caution free to this point. 113 of the 312 laps complete. Our NASCAR Sprint Cup Series coverage presented by Goodyear. Jimmy Johnson leading Kurt Busch now by a 2nd and 3/10. Mark Martin by a 2nd and 8/10. And Jeff Gordon by 5 seconds. Let's see, top 4 in points, running in the top 4 spots in the race. No surprise.
No surprise at all. I've been watching those lap times. It's unreal. I mean, you take a look at Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, Mark Martin, and Jeff Gordon. Guys, the last time by, I was watching the lap times. They're almost identical every single lap when they get a clean track. I mean, these guys are not even a 1/10 of a second apart in speed. That's how close they are, and that's how hard they're driving.
Interesting how the racing's gotten spread out enough, too, that we've avoided any cautions. We've run 114 laps. It looks like these guys, everyone's under good control, good spacing. I mean, these guys could run another 50 laps and not touch one another.
Oh, yeah, and it's a gunfight in the desert, all right, like you said earlier, man. Jimmy brought the big guns, but this track's going to continue to change. Oh, we got a caution on the speedway. I told you it was going to change.
I just said they were going to run another 50 laps without a caution.
There you go.
I jinxed them.
First caution of the race, 116 laps in. Caution is for debris in turns 1 and 2. And so that will erase the gap that Jimmy Johnson had and give the pit crews another chance to go to work. By the way, we were close to setting a record for this race. Longest that a race had ever run at Phoenix to start the race. 121 laps. Wow. 1999. We were within 6 laps of hitting that one. So first yellow out in this one, and second chance for the crews to go to work on their cars along the pit road. Remember last time Jimmy Johnson seen the slight hiccup on their stop. Kurt Busch came in 2nd, went out 1st. Johnson came in 1st, went out 2nd. We'll see if the crews can overcome that. Casey Mears gets the free pass on the caution. And the crews communicating and making sure everybody knows who's supposed to be doing what. Here they come, Vince.
Mark Martin in that very first pit box, he said the car's just not quite as good as it was on that first stint. They're going to make it a 4-tire change, also put a half a round of wedge in the left rear for Mark Martin. Dave.
Jimmie Johnson says the car is a lot better. Just a quarter turn on the track bar. Actually, it's a wedge adjustment for Jimmie Johnson right now. 4 tires. Two car of Kurt Busch in as well. The car was tight in the center and loose off. They wanted to make an adjustment on that. Jamie.
And Jeff Gordon tight in the middle. The back end is swinging around. They're taking the air out of the right rear that they put in on the last stop. 4 tires, you see them angled there. They were told to do that because of the 1 car in order to get them down. There's the race off pit road. It's the 48. Jeff Gordon comes out third, guys.
Whoa, got to follow up on what happened to Kurt Busch there. 3 spots down on pit road on that stop. 17-second pit stop for the 2 car.
Yeah, must have been something going on there.
Dave will have that story for us in a minute. Jimmie Johnson's crew holds serve, but now look who's on his back bumper.
That's what I want to see. Go get him, Mark.
Under caution here, race number 9 of the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, presented by Goodyear. Here in Avondale, Arizona, Phoenix International Raceway. Jimmie Johnson is our leader. The 2 car, Kurt Busch, who came on the pit road second, has lost 3 positions, had an issue here with the right front. Take a look.
Yeah, you see the crew taking off the right side tires. That right front tire changer hangs a lug nut. That's when you don't get it quite spun off of there and you try to pull the tire off and it won't come off. It costs you a ton of time because then you have to pick your wrench back up and take it off. But the 48 and the 5 car at that time, Jimmie held serve. He held the lead off pit road, but he did lose 1 the first stop. So cumulatively over the day, you see Mark Martin has made up 2 spots. His crew has, and Jimmie has lost 1.
First ever double foul restart here. A lot of concern over the double foul starts. Never happened before here in Cup at Phoenix because they always bunch up and get chain reaction incidents. Oh, Junior out of line back there.
Looks like a little contact there with the 40. Oh,
and we told you they were concerned and they wadded up there at the back of it. Michael Waltrip involved. Caution. The 7 car, 34 of Andretti involved. 96 is there. Eric Darnell's car damaged.
Michael Waltrip's got big time damage. Had a pretty good car too.
Guys. Bring the cool down unit and the generator.
Might want to bring her front end.
Yeah, these restarts just get worse the further back you are, the harder it is. You anticipate that start, you start going, and then things start stacking up front. Makes it difficult to stop.
That was a big discussion. There's the 19 of Elliott Sadler involved. Big discussion in the garage area this week. It's tight anyway coming off the corner. They've never had double foul restarts here, and Rusty Wallace talked about it in Countdown. You see the back of the 12 car, Brad Keselowski, he got hit from behind. Watch the 88 car pull out of the way.
Yeah, it kind of happened in front of the 88, but then it all just stacks up more and more and more the further back you get.
See David Reagan with a lot of damage in the UPS Ford.
And Michael kind of gets the worst of it.
It's just like somebody just a couple up in front of Junior spun the tires and didn't get going, and that created everybody slowing down then.
Here's a 7 car on pit road. Robbie Gordon, and you see Hollywood there with our crew cam, the front tire changer. Mark Hollywood Armstrong trying to repair some of the damages there on the front of the 7 car.
Big bar, where's that big bar? Where's the big bar? Where's the big bar? Hey, guys, coming.
That's a tire carrier, Matt Strew.
Okay. Looking for tools there to work on the car and looking for a big bar, big pry bar. Try to help move some of that sheet metal.
Trying to pry that away. Robbie Gordon really needed to impress some people. Said yesterday he only had sponsorship for 8 races right now in 2010. He's run full time in this series since 2006 and desperately needs to find some help to be able to run full time next year. A chain reaction crash involving 6 cars on the restart on lap 119 brings out caution for the 2nd time today. Carl Edwards, by the way, getting the free pass back on the lead lap. Lots of cleanup here on the front straightaway after a chain reaction crash on the restart on lap 119 brings out the caution for the 2nd time today. Now, a lot of guys jumping on the brakes toward the front of the field and stack them up. Watch the 18, the 00, and the 42 there on the inside lane.
Yeah, you see everybody trying to catch up, kind of close up and you see the 18 car starts to hit the brakes, and then everybody starts stacking up. See all the way back through the field.
Heavy damage on the 55. 96 gets hit by Waltrip.
See, Junior does a good job. Just basically get out of line. And then they all start hitting each other.
David Reagan gets Keselowski from behind, and McMurray's trying to get through. Eric Darnell, the 96, is there. The 09 of Gilliland. Mears. Heaviest damaged cars are the 7 car of Robbie Gordon and the 55 of Mako Waltrip. The 96 also has been on and off pit road. So right now under caution, it is Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin running first and second. You see where they're running there? The lead chase cars, first, second, and third on the racetrack. And look at the points margin. Back in a moment.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on ABC, brought to you by AT&T. Vote for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. From your AT&T phone, text the car number of the pit crew you think is the fastest and most valuable in today's race to 2258. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. And UPS. See David Reagan go head-to-head with UPS drivers in Maximum Driver at racing.ups.com.
We are 30 laps shy of the halfway point here at Phoenix International Raceway. Jimmy Johnson is our leader. Mark Martin in second. Jeff Gordon is third. Let's go down and check in with Michael Waltrip. Shannon.
Who has been released from the infield care center. We talked about the double file restarts here being really tricky at Phoenix. What did you see happen, Michael?
They were tricky. A couple of them got together up ahead. I was slowed down. I didn't have any power steering, and 2 people passed me to get in the wreck, and I tried to turn right at a late moment to miss the 96, and I just couldn't. My little arms are tired. Great week for MWR. Toyota extension announcement. Best Western's back. Having a great run in the Napa car. But it wasn't to be today, so thanks for all y'all do, and I'm going to go watch y'all on TV.
Michael Waltrip with nowhere to go out there, Phoenix. Doc?
Thank you, Shannon. Getting set for the restart. Let's see if they can keep from having a chain reaction again. Now, Jimmy Johnson on the outside this time. He was on the inside last time. Leader gets the option, and he will pull away by about 2 car lengths over Mark Martin entering turn 1.
Yeah, it looks like it worked out better for Johnson to be on the outside because the last restart, Mark Martin was out there and was able to stay with him.
Going by on both sides of Jeff Gordon. Clint Boyd in a 33 and the 2 of Kurt Busch.
Yeah, now Jeff Gordon's come under attack from Kyle Busch. Looks like Jeff might be struggling a little bit on this restart.
Here comes Denny Hamlin on the outside of Mark Martin for second.
Hamlin taking that spot away. Martin trying to get back by him. We talk about Phoenix, and guys, air pressure is so low after a pit stop here. They say it takes a few laps to even get the air pressures close to where you can actually be aggressive in the corner. Here comes the 18 now going.
Whoa, a little contact there.
Contact by
Busch.
Kyle Busch on a chase contender, and Gordon saves the car and will only lose the 1 spot.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's happy about that.
No, I don't think he is, but I think Kyle got his left sides down on the apron going into the corner. See if Jeff's got a little payback right here.
He's showing him he's not happy about it.
When you do that sometimes, especially on the entrance to the corner, your car will slide up, and that's looked like what happened when Kyle Busch got up into the side of Jeff Gordon.
Well, Kyle Busch will take that 6th spot away. Jeff gave him just a light nudge back.
Boy, he better hope he's got a good race car and he can pull away from this 24.
Here again, watch the contact here coming out of the corner.
You can see right here as they go in the corner now. It's 18 car.
Right on top.
Yeah. He's down there. They all race on the apron, so he was down there basically in the groove, even though it is on the apron.
Yeah, if you get in there going into the corner, though, that really de-wedges your car, and again, it'll send you up the racetrack. Shannon?
Well, guys, Kyle Busch has really got to get aggressive early on these restarts. He's telling his crew that his tires are only good for the first 15 to 20 laps, and then all he can do is maintain position. So I guess he feels that he's got to go out there and get as many positions as he can before he loses those tires.
He certainly was aggressive on that move, and now Jeff Gordon trying to reel him back in.
Whatever. See if I can get back on here.
Yeah, that was very, very smart. Smart move on Kyle Busch to let Gordon go right there.
So Jimmy Johnson, our leader. Johnson now has led 3 times for a total of 62 of the 132 laps today. See Martin back in second spot, 98 points of differential. It was 73 when the day began. Mark Martin being shown back in third spot behind Johnson and Denny Hamlin, and Jeff Gordon all the way back to sixth, and his points differential just over 150.
Now you can see Jimmy out there about a little over a second ahead right now. I'm sure Brad Daugherty's sitting back there in the studio, feet kicked up, sitting back saying, I told you boys this thing was over.
4-time heavyweight champ, baby. He's doing everything he needs to do, taking care of business.
We got a lot of racing to go, big guy.
Yeah, you just sit back and eat some more rattlesnake. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Coming up 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight, NASCAR Now will wrap up this wild weekend here in Phoenix and talk about what's going to happen as we look ahead to Homestead. Also, how about some NHRA finals tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time in Pomona. Championships up for grabs there. 1 point separating the 2 drivers in Top Fuel. That's 7 Eastern time on ESPN2. Next week, NASCAR Nationwide Series Ford 300 at Homestead Miami Speedway, 4 o'clock Eastern time, and Kyle Busch should be crowned the champion by just starting that race. And oh my, how about the season finale? We will crown a champion in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Ford 400 at Homestead Miami next Sunday right here on ABC at 2:30 Eastern time. Point standings right now as we are just easing in toward the halfway mark. Jimmy Johnson has a 103-point lead over Mark Martin, and the 24 car of Jeff Gordon being shown back at 157 points back. Pretty good battle here, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Casey Kane, Juan Pablo Montoya, and David Rudiman.
Hey, you see just behind Rudiman is A.J. Allmendinger, who's having a good run also. He's in that 12th spot. Remember, that's a Ford that he's driving. Finish out the season here as they will go to Ford full-time next year.
I almost got that car down on the apron too, like Kyle Busch did a moment ago when he got a de-wedgie.
Yeah, you got to utilize that apron sometimes, and you do it a lot.
Right there, he's doing it.
Yeah, you see Rudiman gave him a lot of room, though.
Oh, here comes Burton also under Ryan Newman.
That's 13th and 14th, Newman and Burton. Talk about what a year it's been for Richard Childress Racing. None of those cars have won a race. Hard to believe we could say that. They have not won a single race among the 4 RCR cars in 2009, but they have made a lot of progress in the last month and a half.
Yeah, they have Jeff Burton up from that 36th starting spot. He's done a great job of just maneuvering through traffic. He makes that pass on Ryan Newman now and moves up into the 13th spot. Really good effort by this group. I think Jeff's really excited about the changes that they've made, not only with their cars, but as far as his crew chief and everything that they put into place.
Talk about future stars of the sport. We look at a couple of them right there in the 00 and 44, Allmendinger and Rudiman. Folks, you may not realize it, but that 00, David Rudiman, was very, very close to making the chase this year. Had a disappointing race at Richmond, but he was in the hunt to be one of the 12 drivers in the chase.
I've just seen a steady improvement from these cars out of Michael Waltrip Racing Stable. See Allmendinger now, looks like he's able to make that pass. Puts a little slide job on Rudiman. As they head down the back straightaway. Well, it's hard to call it a straightaway. I should say back stretch because it has a turn in the middle of it.
Arguably one of the most difficult tracks to drive in all of NASCAR. A turn in the backstretch, turns 1 and 2, 11 degrees, turns 3 and 4, 9 degrees. It's almost like you got to be a good short track racer and a good road racer to get around here. Right, Dave?
Juan Pablo Montoya has been a much better racer this year overall. Remember last year, 9 DNFs, did not finishes, and this year, none so far. As he passes Kyle Busch for 8th, that's up from 12th on the restart. This morning when I talked to crew chief Brian Patty, he pulled me over to the pit box they work on in the garage, and he showed me the worktop table with a Sharpie written on it, some things that he had talked to Juan Pablo about. On the left is the number 20. He said, I showed Juan, that's what we were running last year. In the middle, the number 6 to 7. That's about where we're running right now. And on the right, the numbers 1 to 3. That's where I think we can run. That's what I'm trying to show Juan we can do. And this team is moving toward that at the end of this year. The start of next year should be great for these guys.
They have been so impressive in the chase. 5 top 10 finishes in the chase. so impressive. They only have 7 in this year. I should say top 5 finishes. They have 7 top 5s. They have 5 of them coming here in the chase, and obviously the big disappointment last week at Texas where he finished 37. There's the pole sitter, Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car being shown in 7th position, so he's holding his own there in the top 10.
Yeah, the times that they've started in the top 5 this year haven't been some of their best runs, so they're really showing that they've made some progress with this. They've been fast in a lot of places, but that doesn't seem to translate into some good runs. Today they are doing that.
Our in-race reporter, the 14 car, Tony Stewart, has slid back a little bit, Jamie. Now he's being shown back in 22nd position.
Well, Doc, he started 8th, and you know, we talked to him at the start of the race. He seemed pretty optimistic about their chances today after making all those changes after happy hour. But the bad news for this 14 team, they have gone south. He said the car is so inconsistent. Sometimes it's tight getting in, sometimes it's loose getting into the corner. Nothing seems to help it. They made a wedge track bar adjustment on the last stop, and Tony said, I'm trying different lines, I'm trying to use the apron. Nothing is helping this car, guys. I can imagine he's pretty fired up sitting in that seat.
Indeed, Jamie, they certainly are studying. You see Darian Grubb very intense. They're watching the car on a monitor and thinking about adjustments he can make on their next pit stop. Up front, it is Jimmy Johnson, our leader. Johnson now has led the most laps today. He's led 3 times for 80 laps. If you lead the most laps in a race, you get 5 more bonus points for a total of 10 on the day. And Jimmy Johnson would like to have those 10 extra points going to Homestead to make it a little bit easier to possibly make history. Johnson is the leader. Denny Hamlin 2nd. Kurt Busch is now 3rd. Mark Martin 4th. Clint Boyer and Jeff Gordon, they are 5th and 6th, and they are the top 5 in the point stand. As you see, Tony Stewart back in 5th position. Johnson trying to hold on. We are just 5 laps shy of halfway home here at Phoenix International Raceway. Back in just a moment. Halfway home here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Checker O'Reilly Parts 500 at Phoenix. Race number 9 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Jimmy Johnson trying to make NASCAR history, becoming the first driver ever to win 4 consecutive titles. No one's done it in the 61-year history of the sport. Let's get you up to speed on the chase drivers. Dave Burns.
And here are the guys who think they're going to be able to do it right now as Jimmy Johnson works through the lap traffic. That's David Gillilandy's going by right now. This is a car they trust. They've run it 4 times this year so far, including here at Phoenix earlier this year. It's never finished out of the top 10. Right now for the championship leader, a little snug at both ends of the track. The car won't turn the way he wants it to. Vince?
Mark Martin currently 2nd in the championship, but 4th in this particular race, although he's been pretty happy with the car. He said this most recent stint, it started off loose, but it's gotten better about halfway through this fuel run, and it's actually pretty good now. You know, they put in about a half a round of wedge in that last pit stop to try to get him a little better drive off the corner. It's tightened him up in the center, and he has not gotten that drive off the corner that he'd hoped, so they're going to take that wedge adjustment out at the next stop. Jamie?
Well, Vince, what a difference 40 laps has made for this 24 car. Right after they took that air pressure out on the last stop, he said this is one of the best handling cars we have had at Phoenix. Now he's saying this car is so tight it won't turn. He said he keeps missing the corner. He needs his car to get better. And hey, so far so good today, Doc. He's had a couple of near misses and he still has all 4 wheels on it.
Jeff Gordon, the 4-time champion, and we told you there's a chase scenario by which he could be the points leader. He needs to win the race and gain all his points, guys, and have the other things happen. And Jimmy Johnson finishing 27th the worst right now doesn't look very likely.
Now, with Jimmy Johnson leading the race, looks well in command today.
What about Jimmy Johnson's chase scenario? Told you he's chasing history. What does he have to do to be able to make sure he becomes the first driver to win it 4 consecutive years?
He's doing what he needs to do, and that's finished 4th or better, doing that right now. He does that, he doesn't have to worry about what anybody does.
Spanking these boys right now. He's heard him say his car's a little bit tight. He's continued to pull away. He's up 3.4 seconds now. I don't know what's going to happen if he gets it right.
Now, neither Mark Martin or Jeff Gordon have led a lap today. Martin now being shown back in 4th position. There comes the 5 car of Mark Martin, who was 2nd in points. Here's what he needs to do to leave here as the points leader.
He's got a good car. I mean, today he's in a long run. He's one of the better cars. But if you know, when they start off on these short runs, Jimmy's able to get out there quite a bit, and even Kurt Busch just passed Martin a few laps back.
Caution on the racetrack for the third time today. There's debris down in turn 1. Well, this could shuffle things a little bit. Remember how good the five team has been on pit road in pit stops.
Yeah, they've been making up spots on pit roads. So it's an opportunity. They also need to think about trying to make this car better in the shorter runs if they're going to beat that 48.
Yeah, this also to give the guys more of a chance to work on their car to get some adjustments in. Those long green flag deals get cars behind. Now the guys can come in, make adjustments, and get other cars up front.
And I'm sure the competition, Ray, hopes that 48 car doesn't get adjusted to be any better than it already is.
Well, Doc, when those guys that are that good, they're probably not going to make adjustments, but this will give Gordon and certainly Mark Martin, Kurt Busch a chance to get their stuff adjusted a little bit better and maybe catch up to that 48.
Yeah, you see a wedge wrench in the hands of a crew member there on Jeff Gordon's car too, Ray.
Yeah, the guy said their car had gotten way too tight. That'll kill you right in the center of the corner here. You just can't carry the speed, so they're going to make a big adjustment on that car.
And Mark Martin wasn't nearly as good in this run as he was in the one before. He was not able to get up off the corner and be able to reel people in.
Now right here, Jimmie Johnson's got a little advantage because he's coming in now, and you see the other cars just now getting to pit road. Vince?
Remember, Mark Martin told us he liked this very first pit box because he's not going to be blocked in or on the exit. So he comes in cleanly. They're going to take out that half around a wedge that they put in the last stop. We told you about a moment ago. 4 tires for Mark Martin, Sunoco fuel, and a fresh drink for the driver. Dave?
They will try to free up the entry for Jimmie Johnson. That'll be a wedge adjustment for him. For Kurt Busch, the car right now for Kurt is just a little bit snug. They're actually it's a little bit loose. They're going to go down on the track bar to try to help that. Jamie?
And the track temp is about 100 degrees. These cars are tightening up. Both the 24 you see in the foreground there in the background is Denny Hamlin. Both cars tight. Wedge adjustment for the 11. He gets out before the 24. 24 will make their first track bar adjustment today. Air pressure back in. Jimmie Johnson again wins the race off pit road.
Jimmy does, and this they see Boyer up 3 positions. Now you see Kurt Busch back a spot. And Mark Martin loses a position. How about Jeff Burton up 5 positions? So Burton getting it done on the racetrack and his guys getting it done on pit road. Under caution for the 3rd time today here at the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Phoenix, presented by Goodyear. Leaders have been on and off pit road, and a little bit of shuffling in the pits there.
Our last time on pit road, you can see the top 5 crews getting it done down there. You got Clint Boyer's team doing a 12.6 second stop, as well as Ruderman. Jeff Burton gained those spots on pit road with a 13.5.
Yeah, Burton up 5 positions, so a great pit stop for him. How about Boyer's bunch getting it done? RCR guys getting it done in the pits here.
See a lot of teamwork right here. Tire carrier just executing perfectly. Well, till then. But he got the tire out of the way. Now he comes around to the left. All ready to go. Sticks the tire on there. Exactly how you do it right there.
NASCAR rule says you have to be in contact with the tire. It wasn't pretty, but he was in contact with the tire.
He got it done. It wasn't pretty.
And now he will start on the inside. Leader gets the option of lane choice. Let's listen into Denny Hamlin's radio.
To the 24. Let's get in your box. Let's not get half in, half out. I mean, he's screwing us over. Yeah, absolutely. He intentionally stopped short right there. I mean, if he wants me to stop long and force him long to where he gets blocked in by the 1, we can play that game all day.
He's talking about the 24 car, I believe, Andy,
yeah,
right?
What Jeff Gordon's trying to do is get his car stopped just a little bit short so he can get out and doesn't get blocked in from the car in front of him. And what it does, it stacks up back to Denny Hamlin and now crowds him in his pit stall. Makes it very difficult for him to get out.
Set for the restart again. Double foul restarts. You hold your breath. The drivers do, and so do the fans watching at home because of the chain reaction likelihood. And this time we all get through it. Good job, guys. Jimmie Johnson pulls down on the inside lane. Here comes that 2 car up high.
Here comes Denny Hamlin now underneath Clint Boyer. Mark Martin trying to make up some of the spots he lost on pit road.
Martin down on the inside of the 31 car of Jeff Burton.
Yeah, Kurt Busch looking like he wants this lead back. He hasn't been up there in a while. Jimmie Johnson's been kind of hogging that spot.
See Jeff Gordon now on the outside. The 24 car moving up to the high side. The 18 of Kyle Busch under him for position.
Yeah, don't forget about these two. They were going at it earlier.
Martin Truex, the pole sitter, right on the backside of the 18 of Kyle Busch. In comes Montoya. Near contact again.
Oh, trouble off of 4.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved. Couple of cars. Tony Stewart is there. The 17 is there. Bobby Labonte in the 71. 20 of Logano involved.
Just no room on this front straightaway to avoid trouble. Man, they stack them up huge right here.
Brad Keselowski involved, the 83 car of Vickers. So
you're clear straight ahead there. All clear.
There's Junior's car. He's tore up on the right side there in the rear bumper.
Damage on the 14 of Tony Stewart. Right front, left rear. Bobby Labonte, heavy damage on the front of his car.
It looks like Bobby Labonte will be the only one that can't drive away. Looks like Keselowski trying to get his car going.
They had just announced yesterday Bobby Labonte would sign a one-year deal to drive that car all of 2010. Here's there's Bobby, the 2000 Series champion, holding that left hand. All the heavy damage on the front of the Toyota of Brian Vickers.
Yeah, he drove away, but he's got heavy damage.
Fire into the right front too. Fire into the right front, dragging stuff out the back.
So we can show you how this chain reaction all started. Coming up out of the corner, there's Junior on the inside of Marcos Ambrose.
You can see Junior down on the apron, loses the traction again, gets sideways. Ryan Newman gets pushed into him by Sam Hornish. They both make it through, though. Then it just starts stacking up behind him. See Casey Mears just sliding his way through there.
Top of the screen there, see the 88 car sideways, and they stack up right behind him.
Yeah, we talk about utilizing that apron. It's really difficult to do on a restart, though, where you have low air pressures. It just, again, de-wedges the car so much, you just don't have that grip. Car snaps around in a hurry.
Brian Vickers has had such a great year to be able to make it in the chase and has yet to have a top 10 finish in the chase, and it won't happen here at Phoenix. Jamie?
And Tony Stewart on his radio not happy about Dale Earnhardt Jr., so placing the blame. Biggest concern on this 14 is the left front. They just checked it out there, put new tires on it. He said his steering wheel is off to the right about an inch, so not terrible. I believe he's going to be able to drive this thing, but a bad day has just gotten worse for Tony Stewart.
He's right about Junior. I mean, he just lost it right there in front of all of them, and it's kind of frustrating for everybody behind, but you know, it looked like Junior was doing all he could do to try to save it.
Yeah, and Tony talked about his steering wheel being off a little bit. That means that the toe end on the front of the car has been knocked out, whether it's the right front or the left front. We can see all the guys here involved in the crash.
See, Logano was involved. The 77 of Hornish was able to get through, just scraped all off the wall and had some front end damage. There's a 77 of Hornish on pit road getting his Dodge repaired. Again, here's what happened coming up out of the corner. Not a lot of room on this front straightaway. Someone gets sideways. Hard to get around him and get out of the way. From Ryan Newman's onboard camera.
Outside. Well, you're going to get a good shot of how that car got loose.
Yeah, Newman sends it on around from that point.
You're clear. You're clear. All good, Jeff. Good job.
Tony Stewart, watch to his left side, and there's the 07 and Bobby Labonte. Stewart had nowhere to go. Kenseth also involved in Joey Logano. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Fourth caution flag today here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Phoenix, presented by Goodyear. Jimmie Johnson is our leader. Jimmie has now led 3 times for 105 and 175 laps that we have completed, as we are just cleaning up here from a 10-car crash on the front stretch. Dave.
And let's check in with Chad Knaus, Jimmie Johnson's crew chief, giving a little communication to him right now. Chad, early on he was complaining about not being in the track. Looks to me like you might have solved that a little bit.
Yeah, you know, they do something a little different at these short tracks. If you qualify in the top 10, they impound your tires, and you have to start the race on those tires. And we felt pretty confident that if we got the car in early and got those new tires on there, the car would come back to life, and it has. So we're real pleased with the way the car's running. Jimmy's doing a great job. The guys are holding their own in the pits, and we're real pleased with the way the day's going for the Lowe's Chevrolet.
Looks like Kurt Busch might be your toughest competition there. He's racing pretty hard so far.
Yeah, Kurt's always really good here. You know, they qualified well. He and Pat Trison are really clicking right now. It's almost unfortunate for them that they've only got 2 more races. Probably good for us, but you know, those guys are doing a great job, and you know, we'll just see the 5 and the 24 running well. The 18's back there, and you know, it's gonna be a tough race. It's just far from over.
Fun race to watch so far.
Doc.
Remember those words from Chad Canals. It is far from over, and Jimmy Johnson knows just that. Back with a restart in a moment. Here's the championship scenario right now at Phoenix. Jimmy Johnson is our leader. Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon are running in 5th and 7th place respectively. Neither one of those guys have led a lap today. Now, what about the point standings? Jimmy Johnson starting to pull away because he's in front of both of those guys, and the point margin now has opened up to 113 for Mark Martin back and Jeff Gordon 161 back. These guys have somehow got to reverse that over the next 135 laps. They've got to find a way to have Jimmy Johnson chasing them, or else his points lead is going to grow when this day is done.
I promise you they're doing everything they can, but they do need to put some pressure on Jimmy Johnson.
Can they do it? Mark Martin said he's going to drive with his heart here today. He's got 134 laps now to get it done.
See Jimmy Johnson taking that outside lane once again. It's his choice.
Yeah, but look here, Kurt Busch gets a good run off the bottom.
Yeah, but he's going to get a big run off the top. Jimmy Johnson is.
Johnson pulling him by 3 car lengths now. Kurt Busch has to deal with the 11 car right on his bumper, Denny Hamlin. Clint Boyer up high. That great pit stop gave him a good position to restart. He's trying to hang on the 3rd spot. There's Mark Martin down on the inside, and there comes a 24 car. Jeff Gordon just driving it in the corner underneath the 42 of Montoya. Montoya had the high lane and will take that spot away.
Yeah, look at Mark here, looking at Jeff Burton. Burton shutting the door on him.
Comes Kyle Busch on the high side.
Well, Mark Martin knows the clock is ticking. The laps are ticking down. He has got to get aggressive in that 5 car trying to work on the 31, but he may lose a spot to Kyle Busch.
You can see Jeff Gordon still losing spots on these restarts, though. They just still don't have that DuPont Chevrolet right for him yet.
See Truex out on the inside of the 24 car. And that would be for 9th position. Martin Truex trying to take that spot away. That's the look out of the windshield of the roof of the 24. You see Montoya. And just enough room for Gordon to slide by, or is there? Hornets' nests all over the racetrack here. Here's the 16 and 39. Biffle and Newman. These guys battling back 14, 15, 16 on back.
Marcus Ambrose right in front of Biffle there, having another good run this weekend. He's up in the 13th spot.
How about the 99 car? Carl Edwards, who got lapped, was able to get the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass, got back on the lead lap. Now he's being shown in 17th position.
And they've certainly done some work on that car from the time that he got lapped. Made some adjustments these last few cautions. Have Carl running much better. Still not what he wants to be, but it's much better than he started this race.
Mixing it up for 7th position, the 18 and the 42. Couple of really aggressive race car drivers. How about a couple of guys who were put out by that most recent incident? Shannon.
Brian Vickers, Bobby Labonte, just discussing what they saw on the racetrack. What'd you see out there? Just not a lot of room, huh, Bobby?
It was a jam up, and just a tight part of the racetrack. And when you restart there on new tires and everything, it just it's slippery, so just got caught up in a wreck, and just the way it was. I was really excited. Our car was really pretty good. We were top 20 all day, and a lot better than we were yesterday. So I was excited about that. We just hate that we couldn't finish it.
And Bobby Labonte was holding his left hand, but he said he just has a blister on it. It's all right, just a blister. Brian Vickers also out of the Infield Care Center. Brian, how frustrating is it when there really is nowhere to go on that racetrack?
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating. We really had nowhere to go. We had a good car. Track position was really, really important today. It was very, very difficult to pass out there. The tires, the track, everything was really slick. And I think that it was so hard to pass that no one was willing to give anything up. And on the restarts, it got pretty dicey. I don't know what happened exactly. I saw the 88 sideways. I tried to check up, but just absolutely had nowhere to go. I hate it for the Red Bull team, but we'll go to Miami.
Yep, one race left for Brian Vickers in this 83 team, guys.
But a tough chase for the Brian Vickers, although they did a great job to be able to get into the chase this year. 6 poles and a win here in 2009 for that team. Up front, it is Jimmy Johnson, our leader. Just 126 laps to go. It is Johnson, Kurt Busch, Clint Boyer, Denny Hamlin, and Jeff Burton. By the way, Mark Martin now being shown in 6th.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by Goodyear. Innovative technology to help you get there. Chevy and our award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers. And Cross-Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Phoenix International Raceway, race number 9 in the chase for 2009, and Jimmy Johnson, who is chasing history right now, has everyone chasing him. He has led 3 times for 122 laps. We have 192 laps complete, just 120 to go here. Johnson, our leader, Kurt Busch in 2nd spot, Boyer, Hamlin, and Burton the top 5. The nearest points pursuers, Mark Martin is 6th, and Jeff Gordon being shown in 9th position. Now, we heard about him taping up race cars. Dave, they've been taping up some crew guys?
Yeah, that's true, Doc. And as we get ready for the final stop of the day, and crews are talking about making only one more stop for fuel on the day's action, Kenneth Purcell, who is the jackman for Jimmy Johnson, has a left ankle that's kind of bugging him. He told me it's an ankle that's given him some trouble before, and it just felt a little weak today. So during that last caution period after they finished the stop, he came back behind the wall, had the trainer tape him up a little more solid so that he can make that final pit stop of the day for the would-be champion, if he can get there, Jimmy Johnson.
Got to play hurt, Dave. Thank you. Put me back in, Coach. I'm ready to go. A lot of work being done on several cars that are still behind the wall. They're trying to get Dale Earnhardt Jr. back out after that incident, that 10-car chain reaction crash where Jr. spun on lap 170. So they have not given up on trying to get him back out.
Yeah, we saw our in-race reporter, Tony Stewart, be involved in that. Now, they did keep him on the lead lap making all those repairs. He's in the 23rd spot right now, though.
There's the 5-car of Mark Martin. Vince?
Well, the 5-car of Mark Martin, he's really happy with it. He says the balance is really good right now. He said, I feel like I can run with anybody. It's just track position that's hurting. One of the issues is that 31 car up in front of him, Jeff Burton, is just getting better and better all day. In fact, Burton says every stint is a little bit better than the next. He said, I am having a little trouble getting off turn 4, but I'll tell you guys, I'm standing down here in turn 4 by the Mark Martin pit box, and I don't see Burton having any trouble at all.
Talk about biggest movers for the 2nd week in a row. Jeff Burton has had to come from the back of the pack, but he's getting it done. Burton being shown in the 5th position. We talked about how far this whole team has come, and Burton was telling me in the garage area on Friday that he is so proud of how hard this entire RCR organization has worked to be able to try to do something here at the end of this season to get them ready for 2010.
They're definitely on the upswing. I mean, you see what they're doing week in now and week out these last few races, and that helps so much going into the offseason, gets everybody pumped up, and they can continue that as they work towards preparing for next year.
Yeah, next thing they need to work on is some qualifying type setups that may fit into Jeff's program, because it's really hard to come from 36 starting spot all the time. He's had a great car. The worst 2 laps he's run all week's been 2 qualifying laps.
It seems like he doesn't let that bother him. He gets out there, whether he has a bad qualifying run or not, and makes it up, and doesn't get too excited, methodically moves his way up if he's got a good car, and he does today.
He's going to try to hold off the 5-car of Mark Martin, who's starting to ease in on that position. That'd be 5th spot. Now, we told you the 88 car is behind the wall getting repaired. Let's get an update from Jamie.
Well, Doc, there is some cosmetic damage, but the main issue right now is he has an oil leak. The problem is they cannot find where it's coming from. You see Lance McGrew, crew chief there on the right. They have engineers, all their mechanics. Keep in mind, as Dave was talking about working as you're sore, there were 4 team members on this team this morning in a car accident, very sore, having to do double time right now as they try to figure out what is wrong with this car, where the oil leak is coming from, to try to get Dale Jr. back out on the track.
Yeah, I'm not sure that oil leak is from the accident. I think we saw some smoke out of this car earlier, and it could have actually even had something to do with him spinning the car coming off the corner. That oil leak was getting oil on the tires. So I don't think, without the damage I saw, they wouldn't have put him behind the wall, and that oil leak, I think, was from before.
See these guys racing for position. Jeff Burton and Mark Martin These two guys are very good friends off the racetrack. They were teammates at Roush Racing for a number of years, and Jeff Burton has the utmost respect and admiration for Mark Martin.
Yeah, and you'll see that here in a minute, because if Mark starts putting enough pressure on him, he'll let him go, because these two guys do have a lot of give and take between them. He'll wait till Mark's right there and he feels like he's holding him up, then he'll let him go.
Yeah, Jeff Burton will tell you that a lot that he knows about racing, winning races and racing the proper way, was learned from being a teammate at Roush with Mark Martin. So, again, he won't hold him up. He's not just going to pull over and let him go till he gets there. He's going to race him hard till he gets to that point that he can't hold him back anymore.
Tuesday at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, the season's most entertaining new hour is ABC's V. The visitors have arrived and they're ready to make Earth their new home. Don't miss a second of the series that's being called riveting, action-packed, and instantly addictive. ABC's V, all new Tuesday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, right here on ABC. That's a great show, by the way. I love that. That is one of the best shows of the season. Mark Martin hoping he can put on the show here the final laps, 109 laps at Phoenix. Needs to get up there and challenge Jimmy Johnson. Needs to lead a lap to get those 5 bonus points.
You see Mark Martin now putting more pressure on Burton. And Burton's probably a little reluctant to let Mark go, because he's been seeing the 11 car of Denny Hamlin coming back towards him too. He's been catching him. He would like to get up there and pass Hamlin before he lets Mark go.
Yeah, and where Mark is faster than Jeff, Jeff's probably not looking in the mirror at that point, because it's kind of right in the center of the corner. Then Jeff gets a nice run off the corner, and he looks like that he's staying ahead of Mark by a comfortable margin.
We just joined our coverage. Jimmy Johnson has now led 3 times for 134 laps. The guys chasing him in the points when the day began, Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon, neither one have led a lap, and right now the margin for points, 118, is Mark Martin behind Jimmy.
The championship fight in Top Fuel went back and forth throughout qualifying. That man, Tony Schumacher, has the points lead by 2 points over that man, Larry Dixon. They may go all the way to the final round before we know the championship. It's coming up tonight at 7.
Tony Schumacher has won 5 championships in a row, and before he won those 5 in a row, you know who won the 2 previous to that? Larry Dixon. How about a great final there in Pomona for NHRA? There's the 2 car of Kurt Busch being shown in 2nd spot. Clint Boyer back in 3rd position. Jimmy Johnson, our leader here, 102 laps to go. Now, we showed that puff of smoke coming out of the 48 car a few times, and we still see it when he backs off in the corner with the 48, a little bit of flame coming out of the car. And I was told the last DNF engine-wise for the 48 car was May of 2008. The only engine failure the 48 car has had in the last 154 races.
Well, Hendrick Motorsports has such a great engine program. Can't say they're totally bulletproof, but the issues they have are few and far between. See a great battle here for second. Clint Boyer, you know, he made up all those spots on pit road. We wondered if he'd be able to stay up there. Looks like he has a good race car also. Battling Kurt Busch for that 2nd spot. See Denny Hamlin coming in.
Right behind him, you'll see Mark Martin. He did finally get by Jeff Burton.
There comes the 5 car of Martin. This group is a little over 5 seconds back of Jimmy Johnson. Let's update the 11 car of Hamlin. Jamie.
Well, Denny Hamlin, this team really believes they brought a great race car. It's brand new. It has a lot of speed, but of course on a short track, guys, there's a lot to do with track position.
As you guys can see, it's a track position race. Eat a protein bar, whatever you got to do. Let's make that last stop a good one.
So at the end there, Denny's telling his team, eat a protein bar, whatever you guys need to do to get up on the wheel for the last pit stop. So what are the guys doing? They're eating some pizza. They've got pizza boxes back here. They're gearing up, getting some energy for this last stop.
So does pizza help a pit crew make a quicker tire change?
You'd be surprised. I mean, you kind of sometimes forget to eat as a crew member. You got all this pressure and all the excitement of the race, and you don't eat like you should. That's not a bad idea, because if you're well nourished, you can perform a lot better.
I'm going to save me 1 or 2. I'm going to be hungry when this thing's over.
And DJ, you know what Denny Hamlin is saying, because a couple of seconds on pit road, you can pass some guys in the pits. It'll take you 20 laps to pass on a racetrack.
Yeah, we've seen a perfect example. Right ahead of him is Clint Boyer, who was running up in the top 10, but was struggling to get any further up. They had a great pit stop, got him up there, got him out in second, and now he's been able to stay up there in the top 2 or 3 positions.
Right now there are 23 cars on the lead lap. Tony Stewart, the last car on the lead lap. Now the first guys a lap down are Harvick and Logano, the 29 and the 20. And these guys are battling because they want to be the first guy a lap down to be able to get that free pass.
Well, we've seen these two have different issues. We saw Logano get caught up in one of the accidents. Doesn't look like he has a lot of damage. Kevin Harvick started this race off. Now, I don't know if they were loose, tight, or what, but it sure wasn't to Kevin's liking. They went a lap down early, actually pitted very early on that first green flag run. But it seems that they have kind of righted the ship and have him running much better now as they battle for that lucky dog spot.
Let's update to 29. Jamie.
Well, Kevin Harvick has just had a tough day, sliding the right rear all day, chattering the front. They've been adjusting on this, putting spring rubbers in, taking spring rubbers out. Nothing seems to help. He says this car is just junk right now.
Battle for third heating up a little bit. Denny Hamlin moving on the inside of Boyer. And there comes the 5 car of Martin right behind Hamlin, hoping Hamlin can kick the door open and he can also make the pass.
Yeah, it makes it much easier if you can sneak in there whenever a guy's making that pass.
There again, this long run, Mark Martin's car really comes in nice, but it just doesn't start off these runs very fast, so he has to make up spots. Shannon?
Well, Clint Boyer qualified 13th for this race, but I spoke with his crew chief, Shane Wilson, this morning, and he said that the car was a struggle all weekend. They were not able to find any comfort for Clint Boyer and completely punted with their setup this morning. It looks like they punted and it has worked because this car has been fast all day. It's been loose, but you know what they say, loose is fast.
Yeah, it looks like maybe they downed that punt inside the 5-yard line or something, because he's got him running in the top 5. Pretty good. Is he going to lose a spot here to Mark Martin? But you see his car looks like he's losing a little bit of grip.
And how about the 14 car of Tony Stewart? He will go a lap down there to the leader, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, that's kind of bad news for Harvick because he was sitting in that spot. Now Tony Stewart is in that lucky dog position.
We have had 4 cautions for a total of 23 laps, 7 lead changes among 3 different drivers. Jimmy Johnson has led 150 laps. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from Phoenix, our coverage presented by Goodyear. The second to last race of the season. You are watching the man in charge. Jimmy Johnson has led 155 of the 225 laps run in this race. And since they went back to green 66 laps ago, he went from having Kurt Busch right in his bumper to being now some 4.8 seconds ahead of second place over those 65 laps of green. From the pit studio with Rusty, Brad, and Ray. Wow.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But one thing I'm really impressed about with the 48 car, they've been staying up with the racetrack, making small changes every pit stop, working on this car to keep it up front, because this track will change, guys, as the sun starts setting, it starts cooling off a little bit. And Ray, you know well, as I do as a crew chief, this track is hard to keep up with.
Oh, it is. It changes. You know, it starts loose, goes tight. You got shadows coming and going. We said before that when the cautions came out, it was going to give the other guys a chance to work on their car. Bad news for them. It gave Chad Knaus and the 48 crew more of a chance to work on that 48 also.
Jimmy Johnson has clinched the bonus points for leading the most laps in this race. And Dave Burns, he's talking back and forth with his crew about how to make this thing even better yet, huh?
He is, Alan, and you called this guy the man in charge this morning. Chad Knaus told me if we could control this race, that would be the way to go, and they are certainly doing that at this point. Rusty, you said they worked a lot on this car. They're still working on it, or they still need to, that is, as far as the driver's concerned. Listen.
Free off. Seems to be getting better. Seeing a little bit more of a tight center. Free now, where it was neutral. Forward fight is getting better, you said? Yeah, I just don't think I'm getting through the center as well. So it has more available grip for exit.
So the center of the corner is where they want to work. Jimmy did add one final comment to that radio transmission, but it's obviously good.
Yes, Yes, I think anybody can figure that out watching this race today. Boy, he's got a good car.
Yeah, they've just done everything really well, including their pit stops. They've been on time. They've been on top of the racetrack today. Race cars getting better, which is kind of scary for everyone they're racing against. But just been flawless today in their performance.
Remember, it was just 7 days ago. Jimmy Johnson was involved in a wreck on just the 3rd lap of the race at Texas. They spent an hour and 8 minutes in the garage rebuilding that car. We talked with Jimmy on NASCAR Countdown, how much that's weighed on him this week, how it affected his approach to the race. He told us today he thought maybe he'd been being a little too conservative the last couple of weeks, and maybe that's what got him in trouble. He said, today, we're just going to go for it, drive as hard as I can every lap, try and win the race, lead the most laps. Well, he is going to lead the most laps today. Will he win the race? We're 82 circuits away from finding out. We're about 10 laps away, 10 to 15 from another set of pit stops. It could be crucial pit stops in deciding the outcome of this. We're coming back to Phoenix to see how those turn out.
Jimmy Johnson squeaking by some lap traffic here, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Checker O'Reilly Parts 500 at Phoenix. We are easing in on what should be the final pit stop of the day. Coming up in about 10 laps or so. Johnson, our leader. And we went away a moment ago. Denny Hamlin has now taken the 2nd spot away, and Mark Martin has taken 3rd. And these guys moving in. Martin moving in on Hamlin. Time to make his move, guys.
He's got to go. He needs to go now because this race is getting down to the end, and he needs to put some pressure on that 48.
Yeah, I don't know how much he's going to have for him, but I think the best scenario for Mark is this thing go green the rest of the time. His car is better in that, seems to be in that, than on these restarts. He seems to lose some spots there, and then it just takes him a long time to make them back up. See him going by Dale Jr. there, who has come back out onto the racetrack after making some repairs. Actually, he's headed back to pit road once again.
Keep talking about some of the drivers who have been a pleasant surprise this year. One of them is that 47 car of Marcos Ambrose, who ran in the top 10 most of the day last week at Texas, and again today he has now moved into 10th position.
I'm telling you, these guys are really getting it done. Frankie Kerr, the crew chief on this car, Marcos Ambrose, they've gelled so well, and every week they are going the right direction, going forward. Shannon?
Yeah, coming off that heartbreaker last weekend where he ran out of fuel, finished 15th. It was so close for Marcos Ambrose right now, fighting tight center for that 47 car. They finished 14th here in the spring, and they did bring a different setup here this weekend, one with a little bit more grip, and what a great run. Top 10 for the 47 today.
He would get one of my votes for most likely to succeed in 2010, only his first full year as a driver in this series. 31 car, Jeff Burton just able to get by the 2 car for position. Now Burton moves to 4th spot.
Yeah, Kurt Busch car just doesn't look like it's good in these long runs.
Here comes Martin Truex, you see behind the 2 car also. Martin in that 1 car. He was our pole sitter today. This car has performed a lot better than the other times they've qualified up front. It's been a really solid day. He's in that 6th spot, but he's got Kurt Busch in his sights to get into the top 5. Starting to see some pit stops. Kevin Harvick's on pit road right now, so we'll here in the next few laps, Andy, everybody should be starting to come.
Yeah, we're getting inside the pit window now. Everybody can make it from here, so you'll start seeing some cars coming down off pit road or off the racetrack and on pit road. See Montoya now coming down pit road too.
Harvick, who won the truck race on Friday and finished 2nd in the nationwide race yesterday. Could be the final stop of the day if we stay green for Harvick. See Jimmy Johnson, our leader, coming by. How about the Juan Pablo Montoya stop? Dave.
Yeah, the bad news for Juan Pablo is that the last adjustment didn't help. Those were his words. The car is loose in. It's still tight in the center. They'll work on it here and try to give him that feeling that he's looking for. But the last time they tried something, it really didn't make the driver much happier.
Down and away. Other cars coming on the pit road. There's a 33 of Boyer. Shannon.
Clint Boyer says, I have no grip. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment for Clint Boyer. It's also going to be 4 tires. What a great run for this team. He's only had 1 top 5 in the past 28 races, and they are getting it done today. Vince?
The 5 car of Mark Martin, he's had very few complaints about it. It has run well. It's taken a little longer to come in than he would like, but it has been good, especially in clean air. No changes this time around. It's a 4-tire stop and filling it to the very top with fuel for the 5 of Mark Martin.
Martin down and away under 15 seconds. Here comes the 48 Jimmy Johnson for what may be his final stop of the day. The 11 car Denny Hamlin already in. They've already changed right side tires, putting left side tires on Hamlin's car. He is down and away. Let's go down to the Jimmie Johnson pit. Dave.
The leader is in. They'll make an air pressure adjustment for him to try to help the center of that corner, but really don't want to do too much to it. Just a nice, smooth 4-tire stop for him as he tries to finish that up and head back out. It looks clean, and there goes Jimmie Johnson. Kurt Busch is on pit road. He said the adjustments we made the car loose in the wrong places. It made it tight in the wrong places. That really didn't work. They'll go to work one more time on the Blue Deuce. He'd fallen back to 5th from his second position during that run.
Just over 16 seconds for the 2 cars. It was under 15 seconds for the 5 car and just over 15 for the 48 car a moment ago.
Yeah, very important for these guys not to speed, and we haven't had anyone speeding, especially on the exit of pit road. Very easy to do that down in that corner, but didn't want to make a mistake. That could be catastrophic to your trying to win today and your championship hopes too.
At Kansas being shown as our leader. Talk about comebacks at Texas last week. He started 30th, ended up finishing 3rd. He's a former winner here at Phoenix in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Should be coming on very shortly to make his final stop. Kansas the leader. Casey Mears running in 2nd spot in the 07 car.
As I look out on the track after these recycled somewhat, Jeff Burton did a great job on and off of pit road. His pit crew did a good job. He came out in front of Mark Martin, so Mark will have to work with him again.
And the 82 car's already had some contact from a previous incident, now sliding up and contacting the wall just a moment ago again. Rookie Scott Speed.
Yeah, he's racing to try to get this car back in the top 35 in points. And there's still about 100 points out of that spot.
Yeah, the car he's racing, 34, John Andretti, had been involved in one of those chain reaction crashes. Have been in and out of the garage area a couple times. Now Andretti is back on the racetrack in 34th position, but running some 41 laps down. Boy, 4-wheel slide there for Kenseth, who hangs on. Obviously, he's off sequence in terms of pit stops. He last pitted on lap 172.
Yeah, he's not had a really good car today, and he thought maybe this might be a way to try to steal some track position if they could stay out and catch a caution, but they're going to make that pit stop now, we're hearing.
So as he peels off to come down pit road this time, there he is getting down to 45 miles an hour. That'll give the lead back to Jimmie Johnson.
Matt Kenseth in for 4 tires and fuel, just way too loose. Says he just can't do anything with it. He was 3rd last week in Texas, but this flat track program has been a challenge throughout the organization. He anticipated a tough day today, and he's having one in the 17.
See him coming out, but after we cycled through these, look, Denny Hamlin was over 5 seconds back when these pit stops started. He's got Jimmie Johnson in his sights right now. He asked for a good pit stop on that last, because they tried to give him his last one. They did a great job apparently, and Denny did a great job as the driver getting on and off pit road.
Yeah, they gained a couple of seconds on pit road during the pit stop and driving in and out of the pits, but he's also made up some time outside of those lines that we clocked the cars.
So the pizza works in Hunt. Gets them all fired up.
So they get them some more.
Top 3 cars in the point standings. See Mark Martin back in 4th, Gordon back in 11th, and the points differential there, 108 points back is Martin and Gordon, but Jimmie Johnson getting closer and closer to going to Homestead and making NASCAR history.
You're watching ESPN on ABC.
57 laps to go here at Phoenix International Raceway. Race number 9 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Jimmie Johnson has done what he absolutely had to do. Superman making a statement here today. After the disappointment in Texas a week ago, he has led 4 times for 181 laps. Now on that previous pit stop, you see where Denny Hamlin is, the 11 car. He has gained a lot of ground on the racetrack.
Yeah, he pleaded with his pit crew, man, we need a good stop. If we have track position, he felt like he had a good enough car to get up there and contend for this win, and his pit crew really came through that last time.
He might have been the wrong one to park. He's got a good enough car to contend with that 48 on the track. But he had to be able to see that. Before, he was over 5 seconds back and didn't have any idea if he could compete with Jimmy Johnson. This 48 car is just ultra fast today.
Jimmy Johnson, our leader. Hamlin in second spot. Jeff Burton now being shown in third position. Great run. We said it time and again, but what an effort for Jeff Burton. Third consecutive race in a row where this car is running the top 5 and maybe even had a top 10 finish. Martin is fourth, Boyer fifth, Truex sixth, Kurt Busch, Montoya, Ambrose, and now Jeff Gordon being shown in 10th position. When the day began, the points margin was 73 points. Mark Martin behind the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. And right now it's a 108-point differential as Martin being shown fifth and Johnson continues to lead.
You can see how close these cars are on the track, and the way they did it is in the pits. Right here's Denny Hamlin's stop compared to Jimmy Johnson's. You can see a 13.2 versus that 14.8. So he made up some ground right there, but he was actually even farther back than that. He made up some ground getting off the racetrack and then back up to speed as well.
Show you the replays of their pit stops, and we can compare exactly as they go on the pit road with this split screen.
Yeah, you can see right here, we got it divided up into right side, then the jack man, and then the left side, so you can kind of see where all the time is being made. You see on the right side, there's a little bit of difference, about 0.7 of a second. Even on the jack side there, you see Denny Hamlin's crew made up some time, and on the left, just a little bit everywhere.
So the encouragement from the driver got it done. And DJ, I know a lot of times you have talked about these drivers getting it done. Now let's go back down to the 48 pits quickly and Dave.
Well, and also the crew members, Doc, and that's for sure on these pit stops. Remember, crewman Kenneth Purcell, the jackman for Jimmy Johnson, was working with a sore ankle. He nailed that pit stop, much to the satisfaction of crew chief Chad Knaus. Chad always jumps off the pit box and comes down and checks out the tires after each pit stop. He looked the tires over, then he went straight over to Kenneth, gave him a big high five. He knew he'd done well. Jamie?
And Mike Ford, the crew chief for Denny Hamlin, told me this morning they had one bad pit stop last week, and they feel like that cost them the race. So that was big emphasis on this race. Denny Hamlin asked his team to step it up for this last stop, and boys, they did. They were that quick, and they still made a track bar adjustment on that stop.
What a great job by Mike Ford and the crew. Denny Hamlin certainly has been the hard luck driver of the chase. He's had 3 DNFs in the last 5 races at California, Charlotte, and Talladega. And he finished first and second at Martinsville and Texas. There's the 77 car. Remember the contact last week in turn 2. Hornish and Johnson, and this time Johnson able to make the pass cleanly. And there is Mark Martin in the 5 car being shown in 4th position. Vince.
You know, I spoke with crew chief Alan Gustafson this morning about whether or not he thought maybe they didn't capitalize enough last week when Jimmy Johnson had their problems and they ran 4th at Texas. And he said, no, he said, I felt like our missed opportunity was at Lowe's when we ended up 17th. He said, we got in contact during a restart. He said, that's the race I look back at and think, what if? Well, today he said, if the 48 car is better than us, I'll look to get off pit sequence. It just hasn't happened today. He hasn't had an opportunity to go off sequence. The 5 car has been good, but he hasn't really been up in the front with Jimmy. He's been hanging around that 5th spot, and track position is so important here at Phoenix. He just hasn't had it this afternoon.
Yeah, that one thing that Alan said, he was going to use that opportunity to get off sequence. We just haven't had enough caution flags for them to do it. The opportunity just hasn't been there.
And for Mark Martin, how big was that tumble on the final lap at Talladega, which cost him 66 points by being hit with 1 lap to go in a race that he would have probably have easily had a top 5 finish. Right now, the margin is right there, over 100 points with just 47 laps to go. A week ago at Texas, Superman soared in and Clark Kent walked away. But today, Superman's back and leading here at Phoenix.
About to hit 42 laps to go for Jimmy Johnson. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race from Phoenix. Coverage presented by Goodyear. Johnson has pulled away to an 0.8 of a second lead over Denny Hamlin. Not nearly nearly as much as he had before, but a steady 0.8 of a second advantage over second place. Now we count down the laps. From the pit studio with Rusty, Brad, and Ray, Ray's been going over his numbers. Now, the numbers tell us we should see another yellow flag or two in this race. We should.
Yeah, it should. You know, the numbers have really not been quite on as they have been, but this race has historically had a lot of cautions at the end. And so, and if you do have a caution and you have a car that fast, are people, you know, right away the 48's going to come in and put 4 tires on, but are other people going to try too? Or are they going to put them back in that mix to put them in danger on that restart?
Rusty, you've been inside one of these cars before here at Phoenix with a big lead like Jimmie Johnson's had. What's going through his mind right now?
Well, he just doesn't want to make any mistakes whatsoever. And as a driver, right now he's got 41 laps to go. And guys, what I'm noticing right now is that the turn 1 and 2 is getting completely shaded right now. I've had it many, many times leading the race here at Phoenix, only to make a pit stop late in the day when turn 1 and 2 is shaded to go back out and my car is handling completely different all of a sudden. So I know Chad Canals is smart enough to know that he's got to stay up with the track even more with this condition changer right now. So let's just follow this car for just a little bit, guys. Let's go down the front straightaway here. A lot of sun in your eyes right now getting into turn 1. As they get down in there, look at that. It's completely black right now. This track is completely changed. And Ray, I believe they got to start loosening this car up a little bit if they do have another pit stop.
Yeah, Rusty, depending on what Jimmy's telling him right now, we saw him get just a little bit loose right there. But as you know, this track bounces loose to tight, and that shade down there in turn 1 makes it completely different than it is in turn 3 and 4.
Biggest thing, guys, though, as I'm watching this, though, is Denny Hamlin is closing the gap somewhat on Jimmie Johnson. Does he have enough left to run him down and make a race of this thing inside of 20 laps?
DJ, Andy, I know you've been watching some of the lap times out there. DJ, you too have been inside one of these cars when you had a dominating day here and had a big lead and got to the late laps. What are you seeing?
Well, the biggest thing I'm saying, it gets more difficult, as Rusty pointed out, going down that front straightaway to see cars that are in front of you because you get completely blinded by the sun. The other thing is, yeah, Rusty said you don't want to make any mistakes. You're hoping that nobody else makes a mistake. You don't want to be put in that situation of do we pit, do we get 4, do we get 2?
And I'll tell you, Brad and Rusty, both of you are all over this. This racetrack is changing. You know, this sun going down it could be going away from Jimmie Johnson and maybe playing into Denny Hamlin's hands because, Brad, you're right. He's not getting away. Jimmie Johnson's not getting away from Denny Hamlin.
And what's my favorite thing to say, Andy?
It ain't over.
37 to go.
Pretty good battle here. 0 and 18 battle for position on the racetrack. That's Rudiman and Kyle Busch in 11th spot. Going back to the discussion about visibility, I remember when Rusty Wallace was just like Jimmie Johnson. He was pulling away, had dominated the day, was on his way possibly to a championship, and was passing a lap car here at Phoenix and got taken out by a lap car who just, I don't think even saw him going into turn 1.
Yeah, you can see right there from Kyle Busch's car just what that glare does, and it literally blinds you for a certain period of time. You just hope that nobody has a problem right in front of you.
Yeah, you can see the difference in the track temperature in the sun and in the shade, and that makes a big difference in the way the car handles.
Now, Jimmy had complained about his car being a little bit tight earlier. If that's the case, if they haven't freed him up any, then he might be getting a little bit too tight once again down in turns 1 and 2.
See Jimmie Johnson in traffic on the outside of Logano. Thinks better of it for right there, knowing Logano's car's been slipping and sliding a little bit. Gives him a little room.
And you can see that 11 car just stalking Jimmie Johnson.
Yeah, we follow this battle right here as Jimmy tries to get around the 20. Andy, I saw a number of times from the shot that we've had, this 20 car, once again, throwing some smoke. It's the Gibbs cars in particular that seem to smoke a little bit down here in the center of the corner.
Yeah, we see that a lot out of the Gibbs cars, and my speculation on that is that they're working on things that will enhance the deceleration torque in the engine, where they can use that torque to slow the car down, and it causes these cars to smoke a little bit. Now, we can't confirm that. We don't know. The team won't tell us what they're doing, but we see it a lot, especially on short tracks, out of the Gibbs cars. And today we're actually seeing some of that same kind of smoke out of the 48.
Yeah, and we see Denny Hamlin closing in here too, and if they will look in their mirrors not too far back, they're going to see a hungry guy too coming wanting a victory. That's the 31 car, Jeff Burton.
Jeff Burton could be the sleeper of the day. Coming off back-to-back top 10 finishes, 5th at Talladega, 9th at Texas. Vince.
That's right, Doc. And you talk about teams that aren't making the chase. What are they building on? Well, they're building momentum for next season, momentum for the off season, to have that little extra energy as they prepare for Daytona in the beginning of 2010.
is how you do it. You put together strong runs. As you noted, back-to-back top 10s. He's third here this afternoon. They weren't quite as optimistic at the beginning of the weekend, just tight all weekend long. Tried change after change without any different result. So they just put it back to where it was when they took it off the truck. They've massaged on it here today, and Jeff Burton has driven the car. He says it's just gotten better as the day's gone on, and it's good to see a strong run from the 31 team and Burton and his crew chief Todd Berrier today.
And like I said, this track is changing. The conditions are changing, and it could be playing into Burton's hands. Who knows?
Well, I don't want to dispel any of what y'all are saying because I agree 100%. Anything can happen. We have too many laps to go here. I think Jimmie Johnson's just being extremely careful around traffic after what happened last weekend.
Trying to get inside the 39 car and put Newman a lap down. It would put just 16 cars now on the lead lap if he can go by Ryan Newman. And he will go inside. We're talking about caution flags here. There has been a caution inside of the final 10 laps the last 2 races here in a row. So, folks, stand by. Dave.
Hey, guys, he is being very careful in traffic. You were wondering about the handling characteristics of his race car. Just a little bit tight, hard to turn. Chad Knaus did encourage his driver to turn on the fans in the front. They turned them off earlier in the day. Now they turn them on to cool down those tires. And as you look at that battle, that was one of the things that Jimmie Johnson was so glad to see the 20 car finally getting by him, because obviously he's the teammate of the 11 and he was holding up the 48. Jeff Burton's now going to take that second spot and see if he can catch Jimmie Johnson.
Oh, whoa, you don't think Burton's driving that car hard?
He knows he's in second, and he can see the leader not far in front of him.
Jeff Burton has not won a race since Charlotte in October of 2008, 39 races ago. It has not had a run this competitively the entire season.
Yeah, and he's hoping Jimmie Johnson's going to be real careful around lap cars and because he's not going to be. He's going to run hard.
And it only going to take a little bit of Jimmie catching some traffic at the wrong places, and Jeff Burton will be on his bumper.
Jimmie Johnson has led 4 times for 211 laps. He will get the bonus points for leading the most laps today. And right now he has extended his points lead to over 100 points. It's 108 over the 5-car, 173 over the 24 of Mark Martin.
You can see the 14 right behind Jimmie there. You just put him 2 laps down for the day. Tony's car wasn't very good, but he had a lot of damage in that wreck earlier.
Martin, by the way, in 5th, showing in 4th position, the 24 of Jeff Gordon in 10th spot.
I'm going to tell you, Jeff Burton's pushing hard. He got loose getting in the corner right there, but he's really pushing his car hard. When you haven't won in a while and you have that opportunity, you've got a good race car. You just want to make sure that you get everything out of it. You don't want to go say, man, if I'd have driven it a little harder for this amount of time, I might have made it happen. Jeff Burton is giving it everything that he's got.
And Andy, for the guys back in the shop that have been burning the midnight oil, building all these new race cars in the past 2.5 months, this has to mean so much.
Oh, the boys back in Welcome are sitting up in their chairs, standing up, cheering him on right now.
He told me,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
He told me Todd Berrier was going to make a big difference to this race team when he came over. We can already see it happening.
Todd Berrier's a winner, man. I'm telling you, he's a great crew chief.
Richard Childers had said this week that back last December they went in the wrong direction. They built like 30 race cars, and they've had to go back starting this year at the Brickyard to start cutting the front ends off and changing some race cars over and building new cars. It has taken them almost a year to make up for the mistakes they made last fall, but they're starting to come around.
I'll say they are.
Yeah, we talk about a lot of these other guys sliding cars around all the time. We say, you watch Jeff Burton slide this baby around here today. Doing a great job.
There's Johnson, the leader. The margin is 1.6 seconds over Jeff Burton with just 23 laps to go.
Burton was just a little bit faster that lap, a little over about 6/100ths of a second.
Yeah, I think the last few laps, Burton's almost been pushing too hard and lost a little ground. If he just get back in his rhythm, that's what his crew chief and spotter were probably saying that. Just get back in your rhythm that you had, you'll run him down.
Yeah, you only want me to run down the 3-time champ.
Yeah, and you only got 23 laps to do it.
Talk about teams that have to bounce back and get it done. Disappointment a week ago, and you could tell this week that Jimmie Johnson was a little bit spooked by what happened. He had a 184-point lead going into Texas. He went out of there with a 73-point lead and a 38th place finish.
Watch Jimmy here, and we talk about guys having good runs too. They're outside the chase. We have 6 chasers in the top 10, but 4 guys that aren't. Talk about Burton in second, Boyer 5th, Truex 6th, Marcus Ambrose moved up into the 9th spot. So these guys are all giving it great runs here today in Phoenix.
Yeah, but I have to agree with you, Dale. Now that Jimmy's got some clear track, not having to deal with a lot of lap cars, he's definitely picked up the pace some. So probably was being pretty careful around the lap traffic.
We talk about having to perform in the clutch. We had the Gillette in the clutch moment today. That goes to the jackman of the 48 car, Kenneth Purcell. Had some ankle issues. He had to go get it taped. He knew he had to perform. They taped the ankle. He came back out and did a flawless job to get Jimmie Johnson on and off pit road and not lose any positions on the racetrack. So congratulations to Kenneth Purcell getting the Gillette in the clutch moment. To find out how your favorite athletes prepare for success, go to ESPN.com, search Locker Room Report. Andy, you know what that feels like when you got to get it done. No matter what's hurting or what's aching, you got to go over that wall and make a difference.
Yeah, you got to give him credit. He did the job when he needed to.
And you can't just throw anybody in that position, can you, to do that job?
No, it's almost a jackman's about like the quarterback on a pit crew. Everybody kind of keys off of him.
Triggers a whole stop. Here's the 9 and the 16 battling for 14th position. Biffle able to get that spot in front of Casey Kane. And Mark Martin starting to ease in a little bit on the 11 car for 3rd place.
Here once again, Mark's car really coming in late in a run, but he just loses too much time.
Yeah, he'll need a 500 lap race to make it work, but he does have a good car in the long runs.
What about Jeff Gordon battling with Marcus Ambrose for 9th spot?
Yeah, Jeff's been trying to get this spot away from Ambrose, but Ambrose has been pretty solid. Jeff's car just not quite good enough today to get himself up into the top 5 where he really needed to be running.
And Ambrose again, 4 top 5s on the year, 7 top 10s. And if he hadn't run out of gas last week at Texas, he probably would have easily had a top 10, if not a top 5. Inside of 20 laps to go here at Phoenix International Raceway. It is race number 9 in the chase. 1 more race to go in 2009. Jimmie Johnson hoping to be able to extend that points lead because Jimmie has never been very good at Homestead. He's never won the race there. In fact, last year going to Homestead, Jimmie Johnson lost 72 points. Here's a battle. The 1 car of Truex going by the 33 car, and that's for 5th position.
Yeah, very solid day for Martin Truex in this race team. Started from the pole. Really haven't probably fallen back outside the top 10 at any point in time during the day.
And if he could hold on, DJ, this would be the first top 5 finish for Martin Truex since Watkins Glen in August a year ago. Jeff Gordon did indeed get that position from Ambrose, has now moved in the 9th spot.
Another car there, Kurt Busch, who's been up in the top 2 or 3 a lot of the day. Their last green flag stop, they had some issues there too. He lost some spots, just really hasn't been able to make it up. Track position, very important. See him battling his car also right there coming out of 4.
Dave?
And they tried the old trifecta of adjustments on that last stop. Track bar, wedge, air pressure. But Kurt's been reporting that he just has no grip in the car and no turn at the apex of the corner. So a day that started out so well for them, really feeling like they could contend with the 48 all day, has gone in the wrong direction.
Got to be frustrating when you were that good early on in the race and able to pull away and lead so many laps as he did, led 69 laps.
Yeah, what makes it so frustrating is you make those changes and you just, you think you're making the right call, and then it goes the other way, and you have these long green flag runs and you have no chance to kind of fix it back.
And you get down a point in time of the race now as we get down to 12 laps to go. A caution comes out now.
Ooh.
As a crew chief. Man, tough decision.
That's the last thing I want to see right now, especially if you're Jimmie Johnson's crew chief or even Jeff Burton. He's got a great run going so far, running second. He probably doesn't want to see a caution either, but man, it's going to be a tough decision to make if it comes out right now.
I know these guys are down there thinking about it, they play the what-if game a lot, so you're ready to make a decision.
Yeah,
what do you do if you're Chad Canal?
You're doing that lap after lap. You're thinking, okay, if the caution comes out now, this is what I'm going to do. If it comes out in 2 more laps, this is what I'm going to do. You know, it's just a tough decision. Right at this point, I think Jimmy probably has to think about staying out.
Yeah. I'd say he's probably thinking about the scenario.
See the 5 car, Mark Martin trying to get by the 11. That would be 5 points, and every point is critical, and I guess these 5 could make a big difference. We've shown you in countdown to begin today how close some of the championships have actually been in the final race.
Yeah, I know Mark Martin's not going to give up on this spot until he can't go anymore, until that checker flag falls. He's going to give it all he's got.
Mark Martin has finished runner-up in the championship 4 times. He's finished 3rd in the points 4 times. He's finished 4th in the points 3 times. So 11 years in his career, he has finished 3rd, 4th or better, I should say, in the standings. He has come that close so many times. Coming into the day, Jimmy Johnson had to finish 4th or better here and at Homestead to guarantee himself a championship, and also, by the way, his own page in the NASCAR history book.
Yeah, but if he can keep doing what he's doing right now, that number is going to change for next week. It'll be won't be quite as high as 4th that he has to finish.
They're going to come here and dominate the day as we see teammates here racing for that 10th spot. David Rudman having a good day also as he tries to take that 10th spot away from Marcus Ambrose. Dave?
David Ruderman told me right before this race that he didn't know what he had today in the 00, but he's worked his way steadily forward. There's been a couple times when they weren't sure how to adjust on the race car, but crew chief Rodney Childers and David have done a good job of making the right calls and getting him into the top 10.
Certainly have made a great call all year long for that 00. It came so close to making it into the chase, only to have an incident happen at Richmond. Here's the story today. Following a disappointment at Texas a week ago in a 38th place finish, how would the championship team of the last 3 years respond? Well, the answer, Superman has made a statement. Jimmy Johnson did not sit on the pole. He qualified 3rd, but he didn't take him long to get to the front. Johnson now has led 4 times for 232 laps, and the point margin has grown from 73 to 108. Talk about some of the great drivers and great talents in NASCAR history. You think about the names of Richard Petty and Kel Yarber and David Pearson, Dale Earnhardt Sr. And folks, one more race to go. If he can hold on for 5 more laps, one more race to go, depending upon what happens at Homestead. Jimmy Johnson, what a remarkable 4-year run it has been for him.
Even if he doesn't hold on next week, it's a remarkable run that they've made, but they certainly look like that they're poised to take this 4th straight championship. And again, whether you're a Jimmy Johnson fan or don't like the chase, whatever, they've made the most of this, and he's going to be set on doing something that no one else in the history of this sport's been able to do. And we talk about great race drivers, just you pointing out, Doc, just phenomenal what Jimmy Johnson and this team have done.
The last 2 fall races here, the winner of this race has gone on to win the championship. Obviously, it was Jimmy Johnson in 2007 and 2008. Can he make it 3 years in a row? As far as winning at Phoenix and winning a title, he is just 3.5 laps away.
Jimmy's been able to stretch his lead back out over Jeff Burton to about 1.3 seconds. Jeff still running strong, but just not enough to catch him.
Well, you got to give that guy right there a lot of credit for this, too. Rallied his team after last week and having so many problems. They came here, and they've been the car to beat all day long.
Guy's all business all the time, isn't he, Andy?
He is, man. He is taking care of details, and nothing goes undone.
Goes back at night, watches the practice shows, watches the qualifying. Anything that's on television, he watches here, watches every single lap on the racetrack, not just for his car, but for any other car, to see if he can get an idea of something to do to this 48 to make it better.
Man, as a driver, oh, that's a dream come true. You have somebody that dedicated, and all of you crew chiefs, Andy, when you won championships, that's the way that you were too.
Got to focus, bud. Eyes forward. Doing great.
Here in the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix International Raceway. They call this track the Jewel of the Desert. We told you this weekend was about a duel in the desert. Could Jimmie Johnson bounce back from disappointment in Texas? And Johnson, what a performance. The three-time and defending NASCAR Sprint Cup champion gets it done and wins the third year in a row here at Phoenix.
Jeff Burton gets that second place finish.
Mark Martin will finish in 4th position.
See 7th spot for Boyer for another RCR. Good finish.
Save me some of that champagne, boys.
I'd say Jimmie Johnson
Proud of all of you. Jimmy, fantastic job today, man. Great effort. Absolutely, boys. Thank you. Exactly what we needed.
Steve adjusting that brake by so we can do some burnouts there, but you saw Rick Hendrick talking a moment ago, and you talk about a car owner that absolutely lives and breathes this sport. There is Rick Hendrick, and he is
Great job, Jimmy. Chad, great job.
He could pick up his 9th Sprint Cup championship next week at Homestead if Jimmy can pull it off.
I'd say Jimmy and them came here to points race, didn't he? Get all they
yeah,
could.
they got them all.
These fans here are loving this.
You don't think these fans appreciate what this driver is about and what this team is about? And when you beat Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon and these guys in this field the way they have done it, it is impressive. Let's go down and visit with the man who made the calls all day, Chad Canals.
His driver, Jimmie Johnson, just pulled up here and did a big burnout right in front of them. So all the smoke is coming in here now. Chad, after last week, that crash, everything you guys went through, the big ding in the points, how important was it for you guys to come back and dominate like you did today?
Well, you know, we set out to do that every week, obviously, but, you know, we wanted to come to Phoenix and have a solid run, keep the 5 in our sights, and we're able to stay just ahead of them a little bit all day today, and that's really what we needed to do, and obviously momentum is always a good thing to have on your side, and they tried to knock a little bit of the wind out of our sails last week, and hopefully we can go to Homestead and do what we need to with this low Chevrolet. I just couldn't be prouder of this team. You know, these guys don't give up. I think the effort that they showed last week trying to fix that race car to get all those points they could was just fantastic, and it's just it's a great feeling to be a part of this organization, this team.
108-point advantage as you go into Homestead now. What is the mindset, Chad? You guys have been in this situation the last 3 years. How does this one compare?
I don't know. We just won the race. I can't even tell you right now. Right now I just want to get back and get on the plane and try to set everything out and look and see where we're actually where we're at. You know, we work awfully hard to try to get to this point in the season. You just got to take it one day at a time. Obviously, we'd love to go to Homestead and try to win that race, and we'll just see how it all shakes out.
We only have 7 more days to think about it, Chad. Congratulations, guys.
Standing by with the man who runs the show at Hendrick Motorsports. We're going to give you that title. How about that? He's smiling from ear to ear after Jimmie Johnson's performance today. What do you think when you see what you've put together in regards to these teams and the performance that they deliver week in, week out, Rick?
Well, it's been, you know, we're just thankful that they're this competitive, and you know, it's kind of tough to watch them race each other, but that's what we started out to do the first of the year. And boy, congratulations to Jimmy, Chad, and Lowe's, and then Mark to come home 4th, you know, Vacar Quest and Kellogg's. And these guys have worked all year sharing information. Then we go to Texas and Jimmy Rex, and we've got all the guys from all the teams working on the cars. And everyone asked me this morning, you know, why would the 48, why would the 24 and the 5 try to help the 48? And I said, you know, that's what got us here. These guys know that, and I'm just real proud of them. We just got 1 more to go now.
And Rick Hendrick, Doc said, boy, I'm glad we don't have to race against that 48. He sure is good, isn't he?
Oh, he is unbelievable, and what an unbelievable owner they've had. Rick Hendrick talking about teamwork. That is the epitome of how to do it the right way. Teams working together. Well, next week, folks, at Homestead, Jimmie Johnson, there it is, needs to finish 25th or better to clinch the championship and make NASCAR history, becoming the first driver to ever win 4 consecutive Sprint Cup titles.
Well, he can go to Homestead next week with a little cushion. It's not a it's not a given that he's going to take it. 25th is really no problem for this team if they don't have any issues, but we saw that happen last week. So they know that, and they'll go down there prepared for it.
But right now, all he's thinking about is getting out of here and celebrating an incredible comeback from the disappointment of a week ago. Let's go down to victory lane and Dave Burns.
Jimmy started the weekend by telling anyone who would listen, after Texas last week, I don't think lightning can strike twice. At least I certainly hope not. But I'll tell you what did strike here for a third time was a winner in the fall race at Phoenix. Yeah, thanks. We appreciate that. Wow, 3 in a row here in the fall when it counts the most, Jimmy.
Thankfully, yeah. Man, what a great car. What a great race team. You know, we could have easily been beat down, and certainly there were some dark moments over the last week worrying about the points lead and what we lost. But these guys to bounce back, we've always been good at it, and to come and bounce back, qualify strong, run well in practice, great stops all day long, dominate this race says a lot. So very proud of these guys. We obviously have one more race to go. We saw in Texas anything can happen, so I don't need to get too excited about things, but 1-0 something is better than 73, so I'm very excited about it, and I hope all the employee owners at Lowe's are excited. All the 48 fans and everybody at store 2852. It's good stuff.
What was the feeling today after the first pit stop? You got the impounded tires off the car, you made some adjustments, and then the thing hooked up. What was the feeling?
It was good, man. That first run, the car was real loose, and then after that, the car was pretty dang good. And the 2 was really strong, which I expected to see, the 11. And I thought I was falling off, and they were going to come get me at some point, but their cars fell off more, and off we went. So just an awesome performance. I think everybody at Hendrick Motorsports, engine shop, chassis, bodies, this entire 48 race team, everybody at Lowe's.
Were you sensing, though, what we were thinking? If he can do this, it's going to look awfully good in Homestead.
I knew Mark was having a good day. I could see him coming up through the back at the start. And I just really tried to ignore what he was doing because he's Mark Martin, and I know he and that team are going to finish well. And I just had to get all I could and lead as many laps as possible, try to win the race, and just do everything I could on my end, and I did.
Okay, obviously Mark needs to do what he needs to do next week. If he does everything, you still can finish 25th or better, and you'll be the champion. What do you think of that?
That's a great position to be in. We finished 38th last week, so I can't put my guard down. Anything and everything that could go wrong last week did, and you know, going into this next week, we just need to show up and race smart and do our thing.
But seriously, I'm trying to figure out now, 25th or better, can you I know you try to win every week, but can you play it safe at all, or can you go for it all the way and do what you did here?
You know, truthfully, I feel that my 12th place qualifying effort in Texas put me in harm's way. And I was just trying to drive a smart lap in qualifying and not do anything stupid, and that put me in harm's way. So going into the race next weekend, everything, I need to show up Friday ready to set on the pole, and then go from there and run up front. The safest place is up front, you know, top 2 or 3, and if we can stay there, we'll be in good shape.
All right, Jimmie Johnson, a win today, making the road to Homestead pretty straight and pretty short at this point toward the championship. Doc?
Big hug from Carl and Rick Hendrick, and Rick look at him square in the eye, telling him how much he appreciates what he has done for this whole organization, both on and off the racetrack. Well, Jimmie Johnson, the juggernaut, is back as Johnson dominates here at Phoenix, and for the 3rd fall in a row is standing in victory lane. Back after this message.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on ABC, brought to you by Verizon Wireless, America's largest 3G network, and Haynes. Look who we've got our Haynes on now.
The second to last race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series chase is over. Jimmie Johnson has opened up a 108-point gap on Mark Martin with his win today. Mark finishing 4th. Jimmie gaining 35 points on Mark. So it is 25th or better for Johnson next week. Jeff Gordon will be eliminated when Jimmie Johnson starts at Homestead. Everybody else was eliminated today. So for Mark Martin, the scene next week is he needs to earn maximum points by winning the race and leading the most laps, and somehow hope Jimmie Johnson finishes 26th or worse to keep his title hopes alive. Vince, how's Mark feel about his day today? He finished 4th.
He did indeed have a good day, and as one being down there covering the 5 team, it seemed like you had a good race car all day long. Was it as good as it seemed?
It was a good car and a great effort by this race team, and we gave it everything we had today. The car was a little a little vulnerable on the restarts, and we lost some spots and had to battle back from that on the long run. Our car was very, very good on the long run. In fact, I really thought we could get to Jimmy with 35 to go, as good as our car was going, and then it just got tight. I got up to Denny and it got tight and kind of fizzled out, but it was a strong car and a great effort by this team, and I'm really proud.
Alan Gustafson, your crew chief, was telling me this morning, and you've mentioned it too, you think you've had a championship caliber season. It's cliche to say we got to dig deeper. Is there anything else you can dig out of what you guys have done this season one last time?
I'm pretty proud of what we've done this season. That's really all I got to say about it. I'm proud of what we've accomplished.
Yeah, indeed, it's been a terrific season, and guys, I would agree in most instances, championship indeed, but not to be, it looks like, with the 48 in the mix, Alan.
Yeah, got to go to that Homestead race and see what happens there, because truly anything can happen. But Mark Martin finishing 4th today, while Jimmy Johnson is in victory lane. And again, Mark lost 35 points. So for Jimmy Johnson, it's 25th or better if Mark Martin earns maximum points in South Florida next weekend. Your thoughts on what you just heard from Mark Martin and what you just heard from Jimmy Johnson?
A little bit of disappointment out of Mark Martin. You can see it in his eyeballs. He was hoping something would happen. I got to tell you, he had a solid run all day long, 4th place. Guys, but I thought he'd win. I thought he was going to win the race. He had that much adrenaline before this race started.
Well, it looks to me like Jimmy Johnson, Chad Canals, and the whole Hendrick group have gotten back on track. This is what we've expected from them all year long, and what they've done. Last week was an aberration. That's over. These guys dominated today. Martin gave a valiant effort, though.
Yeah. Shows the talent and ability on that 48 team, the depth to come back from that, and then valiant effort from Mark Martin. Yeah. Nothing to hang his head about. Just happens to be up against the best team in motorsports history right now.
Yeah.
For the teammate of Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, a 9th place run today, but Gordon will be eliminated when the race starts for Jimmy Johnson in Homestead. Shannon Spake caught up with Jeff a second ago.
A 9th place finish for Jeff Gordon here at Phoenix. I know you said coming into the race that you had to capitalize. Your thoughts on the day, Jeff?
Well, I was really excited when we started the race. Man, we drove right to the front, me and Mark, and I know how how good he is here. So I thought we were going to be great. I don't know, it just got away from us. We weren't very good on the restarts, and just was a 9th place day for us. So a little disappointing, because I thought we were going to be better than that. But even with that, even if we'd have been a 3rd or 4th place car, the 48 did what they needed to do, which is no surprise. We've seen them do it many times. So that's why they're 3-time champs, soon to be 4.
Yeah, let's talk about the championship. One more race. Is this something that you think is still within your grasp?
Not if we run like this. We got to run better than this. I sure would like to take a couple of tracks and exchange them in the chase, because I think, we're just so much stronger at a lot of different tracks than 2 of the 10 that are in this chase. And, that's the way it is, and we got to get better at them, and I feel like that was our efforts this year. And we made them better, but not good enough. And we'll come back next year and hopefully be stronger. And we're still really looking forward to Homestead. I think we got a great car and team for that race, and we'll see what happens.
Top 10 finish for the 24 here at Phoenix.
And Jeff, 169 points behind Jimmy Johnson with the 1 race to go. So again, once Jimmy does start the race, Jeff is eliminated. Denny Hamlin was only 0.2 of a second behind Jimmy Johnson after the last pit stop, but he faded to 3rd, Jamie.
He did. Denny, I talked to your crew chief, Mike Ford, this morning, and he said, we brought a brand new race car here, and we're going places we've never gone before. How would you assess how it ran today? Did you know about that anyway?
Yeah, I definitely did. And we changed everything but the kitchen sink on this thing, and then we finished 3rd again at this racetrack. So, we are, I guess, the king of mediocrity. I guess, we finished, I think this is our 4th straight 3rd place finish. And no matter what setup we have in it, we finished 3rd. But, we had a shot at 48 that last run. That was when he was most vulnerable. And that's, my pit crew did an awesome job closing that gap on pit road. And just, our FedEx camera was strong, but just not strong enough today.
Your boys ate the pizza and they got the job done. Now, you were looking at the points. You're 8th right now, no change from last week. What do you think can happen here going into Homestead?
Well, my goal was to get to the top 5. That's going to be, nearly impossible unless something happens. But we've closed the gap. With 3 DNFs, I mean, to be just 300 and something back. I mean, add up those points, we could be right there. We just, this wasn't our year as far as the championship's concerned, but next year, I'm telling you, we're going to be pretty strong.
All right, that's 4 third-place finishes here at Phoenix. Alan?
All right, Jamie, thanks. And again, Denny Hamlin, disappointed mediocrity, but third place today in a very strong run for the 11 team. So Jimmie Johnson led 76% of the laps in this race today. How would he bounce back from the Texas disappointment? How about by whipping the field in Phoenix to establish a commanding advantage going into the season finale next week at Homestead Miami Speedway, where he'll try and lock up the title again. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season down to its final race. Want to see history made? Then join us next Sunday at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Tickets available at www.nascar.com/tickets. Of course, we'll have complete coverage here on ABC starting at 2:30 Eastern Time. Likely to see 4 consecutive championships. If we don't see that, then we'll certainly see something shocking and unspectacular. That is for sure. Well, the man who gave Jimmie Johnson all he could handle in the early part of this race, Kurt Busch, wound up finishing 6th today. Shannon?
Well, it was a great start to the race for the number 2 car of Kurt Busch. You put some space between you and Tony Stewart in the points. Walk us through your day, Kurt.
Yeah, it was a good start. We had a great running car in the beginning, a good feel, and just lost the handle as we went. So tough day for the Miller Lite Dodge. We want to be up there right in the mix, at least going for the win, but 6th place, yeah, but we'll take it. Last week was a win. We're gaining points, and we're still doing a good job. And Gordon's within distance, I think, going into Homestead, and that's 3rd place overall in the standings.
Trying to break up that Hendrick Motorsports party. Last race with you and Pat Tryson next weekend. Have you guys got one more win in you?
I think we do. We're bringing back Patriot, the car we won with at Texas. Great car, great feel for this team. Our team has got an upbeat feel. We've had a long year. We've had a successful year. There's no better way than to put together 100% effort this next week and go out with a bang and hopefully a win.
See you in Miami. Kurt Busch, great finish for the number 2 car today.
And just 42 points between Kurt and Jeff Gordon in that race for the 3rd position in the final standings. While the victory photos go on, don't back into that trophy, Jimmy. It might hurt just a little bit.
Good looking trophy.
Yeah, well, okay, they've kind of got the cactus a little shaved down there. That's okay. But certainly another trophy in the case for Jimmie Johnson after a dominating performance here at Phoenix today. Great run for Jeff Burton today, Jamie.
And Jeff Burton brings it home 2nd today. Jeff, best finish of the year. Right at the end of the year, things step up here. Describe the day and how this organization came together.
Well, these races are one in the shop, and we've been working real hard trying to, improve our equipment. And obviously Todd Barrier's come in and done a great job. The team's done a great job. We had we had one hiccup on pit road early, but the rest of them we picked up spots every single time. And that's what it takes. It takes a team effort. I'm real proud of everybody. I lost this race for us on Friday, to be quite honest. I mean, we got to qualify better than 36 with a car like that. I told Todd Barrier yesterday it's a shame to qualify that bad in a car that fast, and that's on my shoulders. So, I'm 42 and still learning, and I'll get better.
You fought your way. The sun would come out when you were coming around turn 4, and you saw how you were sawing that wheel. How physical is this track?
It's turn 4 is harder than I ever remember it being. I mean, it's hard to get the car to turn in the middle of the corner. It's hard to make enough rear grip on the exit of the corner. I just could make more time if I was buzzing the right rear tire. I just seemed like I could point the car better if I had the car loose. So I didn't really want to be doing that, but that's how we were the fastest. And I was afraid it burned the right rear tire off, but it really never did. So that just made us better. And I don't want to have to do that, but we'll do what we got to do.
Great job today. Thank you very much. Jeff Burton finishes 2nd.
After starting in 36th, 3 straight top 10s for that 31 team as the Richard Childress team continues to try and situate themselves for the beginning of the 2010 season. Martin Truex Jr. started on the pole today, finished 5th, his first top 5 finish of this season. Let's hear from him.
Very solid weekend for Martin Truex Jr. Not only earns pole position, but runs top 5 today. The first time ever top 5 here at Phoenix for Chip Ganassi. So boss is going to be happy, which is always good. What was the difference this weekend for you guys?
Well, we just did all the little things right. We didn't have any problems in the pits. Nothing fell off the car. Our tires held air, and all that good stuff. So we just had a good race. Nothing bad happened, and we didn't have any bad luck, and we had a good car. And and just want to thank Bono and all the guys. They made the car better each stop, and they're, the last 2 runs of the race, I felt like we were one of the best cars. At least that's what they were telling me by the time. So just fought track position a little bit all day. We lost a few spots on all our stops, and then we lost a few seconds on those last 2 green flag stops. But nevertheless, a great run. Just got to thank all the guys. Thank the fans for coming out. Thank you to Rain-X for sponsoring us a few races this year. We've enjoyed that, and we've had a rough season, so it feels good. I was really wanted to end the year, with a couple of good runs for Bono and all the guys on the team, and just want to thank them, for not giving up and giving 100% today, and hopefully we can go do this again at Homestead next week.
Yeah, this is Homestead will be your last race with this team before you move over to Michael Waltrip Racing next season. How important is it for you, maybe as a gesture of thanks to Bono and the guys, that you had this kind of run here today and you finish strong next week at Homestead?
Yeah, it's huge for me, because those guys are like brothers to me. We're just like a family, and I wanted it so bad all year. We've been trying so hard. I think almost sometimes we try too hard, and that's what gets us in trouble and causes our problems. But it feels great. I'm really, really proud of their efforts, like I said, to keep digging all year, even with the year we've had, to not give up, come out here and get a top 5. I'm just real proud of them and their efforts, and just hope we can get a little closer next week.
Real strong run today for Martin Truex Jr. He finishes 5th.
Great run today for Truex, and the tradition in racing that began with Dan Gurney at Le Mans 1967 continued in Phoenix's Victory Lane by Jimmy Johnson and company, the spraying of the champagne. We're back with more post-race coverage in a minute. Phoenix International Raceway on a beautiful November afternoon as the fans begin to file out after watching Jimmy Johnson score the win. Our coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from Phoenix today, presented by Goodyear. Let's see, Jimmy wiped our camera lens, trying to help his crew chief out, get the champagne out of his eyes.
Yeah, nice fella, isn't he?
Very nice. Yeah, we did it. Boy, what that must feel like. Marcos Ambrose, good run today, Shannon.
Well, Marcos Ambrose avoided a contact on the racetrack with the 88 team to come away with 11th place finish. You said you had 2 more races, this race and Homestead, to make an impression. Have you?
Well, we ran great at Texas, we ran well today, so we're really excited for our future, I was worried I'd pinch the 88 down there to spin him out, but I think he spun on his own oil, which makes him feel a lot better, because I would hate to hurt all those junior fans out there. But we had a strong day, not quite enough there at the end. I burnt the right rear tyre off it, but really proud of my guys, really proud of where we're going, and I'm excited. I think 2010 is going to be a great year for us.
Exactly. There are a lot of drivers in this garage and a lot of teams looking forward to the offseason, but I bet you're one of those drivers who already looking forward to 2010.
I am, but I'm also looking forward to the break. You just need time to reflect on your season and get your body and your head back in shape for the following year, and I need it. I'm getting really tired. I've got my family back in Australia right now, so I'm pining for them, and hopefully, I've only got 7 or 8 days to wait here and I'll get back and see them. But I love NASCAR racing. It's what I live for, and if we race every weekend, it wouldn't be a problem.
Back-to-back top 15s for Marcos Ambrose. Guys?
All right, Shannon, thank you. Solid day. And for that man, Alan Gustafson, it's on to Homestead next week to see if they can, well, try and do what Jimmy Johnson's team did today, Jamie. Dominate.
That's right, and they won the last race here, so they had a good chance coming in. Alan, you guys ended up 4th overall, though. Sum up your day.
It was a good day. It was a solid day. We had a really good car, and Mark drove the wheels off it with all those long green runs, starting 10th, and we lost a little bit of ground on the initial start. He drove up from 12th, and we had to do most of it under green. So it was a good day. It was solid. We were just off a little bit, and to win these things, you've got to be perfect, and we were just off a tick and really all phases, but really solid. It's hard to be disappointed. The guys worked really, really hard, and Mark drove his tail off and just came a little bit short.
108 points out now from Jimmy Johnson. 1 race to go. What is your mindset as we go into Homestead?
Just go down there and try to win. I love the state of Florida. Going back home to Florida is always great for me, and Homestead's a great track. It's a lot of fun. Mark's awesome there. We're just going to go cut it loose, try to win, and get another trophy, and the points will fall where they fall. A lot can happen. We still have hope, but losing points here hurts. But still really proud of the guys. All these guys in the College CarQuest Chevy have done a great job, and we got one more we can get.
Well, Alan just told me he's had 3 wins here, and you know this is the only racetrack that the crew chief doesn't get a replica trophy. So Chad Knaus doesn't get to take home a trophy tonight, just Jimmy.
Oh, you never know. I'll bet they find a way to share some of those a little bit. By the way, the Hendrick Motorsports cars 1, 2, 3 in points. We mentioned Kurt Busch, close to Jeff Gordon, about 42 away for 4th, to clinch a top 3 finish in points for Hendrick Motorsports. Here's the picture. Johnson's already clinched that. Martin, with a 25th or better, would clinch a top 3 spot, and Jeff Gordon would have to finish 6th or better. That's assuming Kurt Busch gets maximum points to clinch that 3rd position. So there's still plenty to race for at the Homestead Miami Speedway next week in the season's finale, the Ford 400. So 7 days till we see if NASCAR history is made or not. Want to bring in all of our NASCAR champions and our analysts, Rusty, Brad, and Ray down here.
Ray.
You're Ray, thank you. Doc, DJ, and Andy upstairs. Brewer over in the Craftsman Tech Garage. I want to talk about what these next 7 days are going to be like for the guys on the verge of making history. Drivers, crew chiefs. What's it like for the next 7 days when you're waiting for that last race?
Well, for Jimmy Johnson, I think he's still going to be tense. He still knows he doesn't have the deal done yet. But for a guy like Rick Hendrick, he can't lose no matter what. This guy has just assembled an amazing team. All 3 teams in the top. Obviously, we had a little problem with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and 88 team, but the rest of the teams have been fantastic.
You know, the one thing that you have to remember is these guys are going for a history-making opportunity. They've done this 3 times consecutively, so they know how to react. They will be prepared to go throughout this week. They'll do it very professionally. Their stomachs will turn just a little bit, but they'll be ready to pick up that trophy next week.
And they need to go to Mr. Hendrick, like we used to say, look, just please keep these guys, you know, off of us for a week or so. Like, they're going to be pulled in lots of different directions. Everybody's going to want to talk about hats and T-shirts and stuff like that. What they've got to do is just focus. They've got to be left alone for another 7 days so they can concentrate on going to Homestead and doing what they did today and then enjoying it.
Gentlemen upstairs, thoughts?
Well, if I know Chad Knaus, I know he's going to remember it, remind his crew that we have never won. Jimmy Johnson's never won at Homestead. Last year they went there and lost 72 points. And the guy that was second in the points last year went to Homestead, led the most laps, and won the race. You think Jimmy and Chad will remember that?
Well, he can lose 72 points again and still win the championship is what he's going to tell you. But the biggest thing is, I think, in going there, everybody's going to talk all week how it's over. It is over. You know, that's what everybody's going to say. Jimmy and Chad say, all you got to do is look back 7 days from right now today and see what can possibly happen. Anything can happen there. So as a driver, you're not comfortable until you see that checkered flag and know that you've got it in the bag.
Yeah, and then the crew chief's not going to. He's going to think of all the things that can happen. He's not going to sleep well. They're going to run well. The only way they're going to lose it is something happens, like an engine blows up, or they leave something loose, or something happens to the car, or they get in a wreck. So they're going to. All those situations are going to go off in their head all week long, but man, they're facing history and they're getting excited about it.
And Tim Brewer, you know what this feels like when you're trying to hang on to a championship. You've done it time and again.
Well, you know, it's one of those things to where you do what you're good at. You know, Chad Knaus, he told Jimmy back at Michigan, hey, we're no good at running fuel mileage races. Let's just do what we're good at. That's what they did today. They went out, they qualified good, they led a lot of laps, they posted the most points, they won the race. That's what they're good at. Like Cale Yarborough said, don't ever give up. And he told me personally, Brewer, they just tied us. They hadn't beat us. And I said, hey, they got a big arsenal. Get ready, because our ship's getting ready to get sank.
All right, Mr. Brewer, thank you. 4th consecutive championship next week if Jimmy Johnson is able to get the job done at Homestead Miami. And remember what Jimmy told us just earlier in Victory Lane. They're going to go there, and they're going to do what they've been doing, go for the win.
Yeah, they will go for the win because he doesn't know how to do it any different. I mean, see what he did today. He dominated. He run up front. He got the most points. He did it his way. I think that's the only way they know how to do it.
Go down there next week, Joe Stone Crab, get the crab claws out, the lobsters, the champagne. That 48 bunch coming to pick up a trophy.
Well, Chad said they're better under pressure. He needs to figure out a way to get some pressure on those guys for next week.
Brad always thinking about food. Hey, don't forget to watch Desperate Housewives tonight, all new at 9 Eastern, 8 Central here on ABC. So Jimmy Johnson had problems at Texas last weekend, came to Phoenix having lost a little momentum. Well, he sure gained it back by dominating this race, leading over 70% of the laps and setting himself in position to make NASCAR history next week if he can finish 25th or better in the Ford 400.
12 drivers, 10 races, 1 champion.
2 races to go in the chase, and this championship is very much up for grabs. Martin on the move. Mark Martin getting better and better each and every lap.
You can see how hard Jimmy Johnson is driving the car. He's getting aggressive.
Jimmy Johnson getting closer and closer to going to Homestead and making NASCAR history.
Yes, 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 yes! Save me some of that champagne, boys.
The chase continues. This has been a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.